Sacred Symbols is sponsored by Opera GX, the web browser that implores you to ditch your boring standby like Chrome or Safari for something a whole lot more functional. So if you want to learn more about the Opera GX browser for yourself, do so at your earliest convenience by going to operagx.gg/sacred symbols. That's operagx.gg/sacredsymbols. Again, to download the completely free go-to browser for gamers around the world, Opera GX, head to operagx.gg/sacred symbols and begin your journey today. Sacred Symbols, a PlayStation podcast, is brought to you by, well, you. If you want to learn how to support our show, go to patreon.com/laststandmedia. Greetings and salutations! Welcome back to Sacred Symbols, a PlayStation podcast. This is episode number 351. It's all downhill from here. My name is Colin Moriarty. I'm joined as always by my son Chris Raygun on this, the 8th anniversary of Last Stand. How are you today, Chris?
I'm good. 8 years. 8 years is it feels like the longest I've done anything. That can't be true, but it feels like man, that's a long time. I guess I've been editing for longer, but I've also been editing for an unreasonably long time. Mm-hmm. Like it makes really no, like I was editing at like 9. So like that doesn't really count in some sense. But yeah, man, it does not feel like that long, I have to say.
Yeah, it's for you it'll be more than 6.5 years, which is good since we started Sacred. And yeah, it's crazy. So we're recording this March 20th. I launched the Patreon for Colin's Last Stand on March 20th, 2017. Quickly got to like 25 grand a month or something. Got invited on Rogan. It was a pretty wild ride from there for my first of 2 Rogan appearances. And I don't even know, man. I reflected on it a little bit in the letter that I wrote. You guys can find it on patreon.com/laststandmedia. It's available to everyone. You don't have to be a patron. Just a brief sort of thing. We actually started late today. And I appreciate the guys because I needed to write this thing and figure out what I wanted to say. And I stayed up late last night watching QVC with Micah until like 4 a.m. Got kind of sucked into that. So we're starting an hour later than usual. So I appreciate that. So happy anniversary, Dustin. You are our first full-time employee. And you still are here for some reason.
Still here.
Yeah.
Still rocking.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's crazy. I remember, well, I guess this wasn't when Last Stand was born, but I remember when you left Kind of Funny. I was with Ben in Boston for PAX East. And we were there it was the day after PAX ended, maybe? Because I remember we were going around and checking out some historical sites. And I was like, whoa, crazy shit going down. But yeah, we're coming up because if Chris is at 6.5 years, well, I think I started really full time for you in 2018. Was it 2018?
Yeah, I want to say 2018. Yeah.
So
been a long time.
I'm my job before this, I was at from 2012 to 2020 because there was that period where I was working both jobs. And so, I mean, I guess that was 8 years. So coming up, maybe this will be my longest job ever of 2 that I've ever had.
Yeah. So, yeah. That's good.
Yeah.
We've only ever, the only person that ever walked away from us was ACG so far. So we have a pretty good, and he, I have no animosity towards him. He's wanted to do his own thing, but it's like, that's pretty good. I think that speaks fairly highly of our operation in a world where people are constantly moving around, climbing the ladder of success. Yeah, glad to have you guys here. You were basically, along with Dagan, my original collaborators. So, and as I wrote in my note, especially thankful to Chris because, Chris built Sacred Symbols with me. We've been doing the show together since the beginning, and would work with me when no one else would, basically. So. Like no one else, not that I was really asking everyone, but I was somewhat of a toxic entity in the gaming industry for no reason, of course, at that time.
Yeah,
that's not lost on me.
Oh yeah, well to be fair, I didn't really know the extent of it. Had I known, I probably would have I would have cut you off immediately.
Yeah, fair enough. So yeah, thank you to everyone for supporting us for 8 years. Hopefully we do this. As I said in the letter, it's a brief letter because I said in the note, I'm like 8 years is kind of like, it's not really an anniversary worth celebrating too deeply. Let's not get crazy with it. But I just wanted to acknowledge everyone I've worked with and just say that this will go for as long as people support it. You know, it's gone longer than I thought it would to this point, and we're pretty much near our peak. So, it's good. It's good.
Yeah,
I feel good.
We'll all be doing the show when we have scoliosis, and we're in nursing homes.
Inevitably. Do you guys remember did you guys get the scoliosis checks in gym?
I think so. That
like
sounds
you would like line up,
me.
you take your shirt off. It was a weird kind of, I just don't understand why this was the thing where they would like, the teacher would like look at your back. And this was like a thing that happened. And I was like, it was like the only thing that they cared about was scoliosis.
Yeah, they would wheel you into the nurse's office and they would like, they would check your back. They would strip you naked. They would fondle your balls and then they would tell you not to say anything.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
And then they'd
That's right.
whisk you back off to math class.
That's crazy. I had the same exact experience.
Yeah, it's wild. Yeah, New England.
You got diddled?
Yeah, you know. It's part of the medical experience.
Dude, it's funny. Like, why was that such an like? That's what I did. Was this a thing for you too, Dustin? Like scoliosis checks by the gym teacher?
I have no memory of anything like this.
Interesting.
If there was ball touching, maybe I blocked it out.
You blocked it out.
Yeah. I mean, that was just an extra kind of perk.
Sure.
Right.
That had nothing to do with the scoliosis itself.
That was on the premium package.
Right.
It's interesting
Scoliosis
that this
plus.
this particular diddle is just a ball touch, and that's it. Nothing else.
Yeah, fair enough. Just a ball touch.
Particular thing. So something to think about.
I wonder if anyone out there knows what I'm talking about, or maybe it was just a thing that like was in the New York area or something. I doubt that.
No, I remember. This sounds very distinctly familiar to me. Like I'm absolutely sure they had like a scoliosis thing. I don't know if it was for gym or if it was just like a general. I can't remember the context in which it was like, you know, implemented. But I remember that. I remember there was like a weird scoliosis thing.
It's yeah, like they were really concerned about it. Don't know why.
Yeah,
but I was cleared by the gym teachers of having scoliosis. Now I shrimp today. I sit like the letter C. I'm in a little bit of an interesting mood because I forgot to add in. I also went for a 6-mile walk before we recorded.
Wow. Oh
yeah.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, because I was like, I'm sorry. Go ahead, Chris.
No, I was gonna say, how's that? How do you feel?
Oh, I feel good. I've been trying to just walk more, as I've been saying, just because the weather is in that perfect position where it's not too oppressive, but it's going to be over soon. So I'm just trying to get that. And then I'll be back in the home gym. But I went for a walk specifically because I was like, I don't really know what to write. And then I just kind of went for a walk and thought about it. Spaced out for most of it, actually. As I want to do. Like I'll space out at some point in the walk and then like come to like, and I'll be like in another part of the walk. You know,
yeah.
Oh, what was I? And I was thinking about something.
You get to like a crosswalk and you're just like, you don't even realize that you're staring directly into somebody's eyes.
Well, it's good to be here with you guys. Happy anniversary. Happy anniversary to everyone out there. Dustin, are you well?
I am well. Actually, Colin, I brought something to show you. Show and tell. Because you're always talking about the music gear that you're buying. I bought something.
Yeah, well, let me see it.
Check this out. It's a Boss Katana Mini.
Wow, mini amp.
I got this because I'm getting back into guitar. Chris and I were talking about guitars before we hit record. And I got this on a Facebook Marketplace deal for $60. And it's just, I realized when I went to go play, I was like, I don't have anything to plug into anymore. Like the half stack I was using is at my parents' house. I don't have shit. Yeah. So I got this little thing and I'm just kind of, messing around, having a good time.
That's wonderful.
Yeah. This thing honestly is really loud, which is crazy because it runs on batteries. It takes AA's.
That's crazy.
That's amazing.
What does it run for 7 minutes?
No, it came with batteries and I probably have a few hours in it.
Dude, it's like a Game Gear.
Yeah. Dude,
Look at all the batteries in that thing. That is
there's 6 batteries in it.
That is literally the Game Gear setup, isn't it?
Yeah.
Wasn't it like 6?
Yeah, it was.
But yeah, you're not gonna be able to play with a drummer with this thing, but it's plenty loud for just practicing. So
no,
that's sick.
Just got that.
I haven't
playing a little bit. Man, not very good. but it's fun, you know?
Yeah, I haven't had a mini amp in a while. I don't have an amp here at all. Like I mean, the sad reality is like in an apartment, you want to be you want to be reasonably considerate. So I just plug my shit into the computer, and with like headphones, and it's been pretty good. But there's no denying that there's a different feeling,
Right?
With like an amp in a room, you get the echoes off the walls and stuff. It's good stuff.
Yeah, playing with the amp, it's pretty cool. It's fun. I was happy because I haven't played probably for I don't know, at least 5 years or more. And I was worried that I wouldn't be able to do anything. And thankfully, it all came back to me like very quickly. But the realization was I was never good to begin with. So I've kind of just came back to that base level, you know?
Right.
Well, you got to get back into it. I'm actually pretty decent at bass. I'm very mediocre at guitar. I'm self-taught on both. Like I just hit a wall because I taught myself how to play by looking at the tab.
Right.
So I don't even like the way I like have a really hard time using my middle finger, for instance. Like when I hold bar chords and stuff like that, like I'm just all fucked up.
My pinky is fucked.
Yeah, the pinky is, I mean, don't even get me started on the fucking pinky. If I'm not playing like gent bar chords, I'm pretty much, shit out of luck. But playing guitar is so fun when playing like chuggy shit.
Oh yeah.
Like just like I love playing shit like that. Like that's fun. And but man, I'm not very good at the guitar. It's too complicated. It's the old joke about being a drummer but not really being a musician. Like I'm not really a musician, I'm a drummer. Like I just started playing guitar and bass, as I've said in the past, because I couldn't play drums anymore because I was in a city and it would have been insane. I knew one person that had a drum kit in their apartment and I'm like, I can't even believe you do this to people. Like
everyone connected to him is going insane.
Yeah, totally. He went to Berkeley. Like Berkeley is a college in California, as everyone knows, but Berkeley, Berklee, is a prominent music school in Boston that's right next to Northeastern. So I knew a bunch of people that went there, and a bunch of like famous musicians have gone there in the past. And these guys were all so good. And yeah, he was like a jazz drummer, and he just had like a little like jungle kit set up in his apartment. I'll never forget that. And mostly because I think I used to buy pot from his roommate, and that's why I was always there, and I would always just look at it, and I'd be like, "Damn, this is like I'd be so embarrassed to play this." So yeah, I picked up guitar, and then I started reading like guitartabs.com or whatever.
Ultimate Guitar,
yeah, whatever it was, and I would just look up, like this song 311 is as everyone knows, my favorite band, and their rhythm guitar is all just bar chords, so that's like quite easy to play. There's like 8 of them. You just play them in different orders, standard tuning, like
right.
But more complicated, like finger picking stuff. It's like no way. And then bass I picked up a little bit later, and I found it much easier. It's still like I think bass is so impressive. It's so amazing, but I'm much more proficient at the bass.
Yeah, I was learning a bunch of different songs from some of my, favorite bands, like a lot of Jimmy Eat World songs. And I realized I'm like, man, outside of the solos, I can play all of these songs. Mm-hmm. They're just super easy and simple, which is, it's always interesting because you think about like having to be a certain level in order to make something good. But it's like, no, these are just simple songs with really good production and some guitar bits thrown in here and there. And that's all you need. If it's a good song, it's a good song.
The illusion to that was like dispelled for me really early on when I think I'm really digging into the memory well here. There was like this Australian comedy like band thing called I think Axis. It was Axis of Awesome.
I know that video. I love exactly, dude.
I love Flight of the Conchords.
That's what I thought you were going to say. I'm sorry.
But the Axis of Awesome has this. I don't remember what exactly it was called, but it was like the premise of the song was like it was just every big song is the same 4 chords. I think it might have just been called the 4-chord song. Actually, now I think about it.
Oh yeah, I know what you're talking about. I think I saw something similar. Maybe it was them on like an America's Got Talent style thing where they did like a medley.
Yeah, and you can do that with like probably millions of songs, honestly. Like you really can do. And the second I learned that it was really more about like I don't know, flourishes and execution and all sorts of individual things outside of the pure composition of it. I was like, oh, I could write a great song if I wanted to, or if I had like the creativity to really like add on to like the base foundations of this. But a lot of it is, you surprised how many of it is just E minor, G, D, and C. It's crazy.
Yeah, there's only so many ways to express yourself on a guitar, really. I mean, it's
on an
not
instrument.
chess. It's not going to be like an infinite number of possibilities. It's not. Like there are. It's a lot of possibilities, many, but limited by the notes and the fretboard and the strings and the tuning as well.
The tuning, the pedals, and then you add stuff on like pedals and new pickups, and obviously mixing plays a big part of it. But it's like a lot of it really is just in like, I've heard final mixes, right, where it's like the same exact song with like a completely different mix, and it's like, that's garbage, that's great. Like, it really all comes down to like a final mix. It's crazy.
Sure.
Yeah.
I wish I could mix. I can't mix for shit.
Have you ever listened to an album from a band you like that you're like, man, the core of these songs are good, but the production is ass?
Definitely.
There's
Absolutely.
one of my favorite bands, Switchfoot, growing up. They put
yeah.
out an album.
I dare you to move.
Yeah, dude, great song. Amazing song. I love that song.
Yeah, that song's great.
I remember I liked Dark Horses was all over the radio.
Oh yeah,
when I was
Dark
in college,
Horses.
and I loved Dark Horses.
I think it was the album after that. Maybe it was called Fading West, maybe. It sounds like the producer of the Jonas Brothers produced the album, and it's horrible. But I'm like, man, if you listen, I've heard him play these songs acoustic, and they're great. Then I listen to the album, like, trash. So
yeah. There's I think Wolves by Rise Against is one of those where like I really like this album, but I can tell like the production's all over the place on this thing. Like it's this needs a remix so bad. But that's always disappointing. It's always like really disheartening because it's like, why'd you put so much reverb on the voice here?
Yeah,
why'd you do that?
There's a 311 second record, Grassroots, is famous within the community for being badly recorded.
Mm-hmm.
I think most people wouldn't notice, actually, but if you know music, you'll know it's muddy, and they like did it in a house basically. And it was weird because they were like on a big label and it was their second record and shit. And I think they just like bit off more than they can chew. And they acknowledged it themselves. They even re-recorded the single from it for their 20th anniversary, like re-recorded the entire thing to like make it sound better. It sucks that I've been listening to a lot of the Beach Boys, who I love.
Hell yeah.
And it's like, damn, dude, I feel this way actually about early to mid Beatles records as well. Not so much the later stuff where it's really finely produced, frankly, but where it's like, damn, this is a bummer. Like I'm listening to some of this Beach Boys stuff and I'm like, it's fucking in borderline mono and like,
yeah,
dude, mono's
like,
good.
Like if you like just took one headphone off, like all of the vocals drop out and stuff. And I'm like, it's just old. Like that's not the way you do it. And it's a bummer. Like so, and even some early Pink Floyd is like that. It's just good. By the time you get to the 70s, there's basically no production problems for the most part. Everything sounds so fucking good. It's actually incredible what they did, especially in the 70s with no computers.
Yeah.
Have you listened to Pet Sounds?
Of course.
Dude, Pet Sounds is one of the greatest albums of all time.
Sublime.
The production, I've watched endless YouTube videos about the production of Pet Sounds because I'm obsessed with that. I mean, I love the Beach Boys as a whole, but that album in particular is insane.
Yeah, dude. I'm a huge Beach Boys guy. Like, what's funny is that I really didn't, I would like some like fun and shit when I was a kid. I was like, oh,
sure.
these are great songs. But then I never really took them very seriously. And the funny thing is that and this is one of the most frustrating things. This is only second to me not seeing the Police when they toured in 2007 because I moved to California and I had tickets to see them twice and I had to give them away because I left to take a job. And they literally never, they fucking hate each other.
Right.
So it was like ridiculous that they got together at all. And I knew it when I was like, it was a giant stadium. I was supposed to see them. The only thing that was worse than that was my mom, when she worked at Northeastern, was good friends with one of the legal counsels at Northeastern, this guy named Vinny. And Vinny was friends with Brian Wilson, like straight up. And my mom used to go to Beach Boys concerts and like Brian Wilson concerts, like as a VIP, like when they would come to Massachusetts or whatever. So did it like a few times and I just never went.
That's crazy.
Like I was just like, I want to go smoke pot with my friends. You know, and then like it was only later that I really got into like the deep cuts of Beach Boys and like really learning about, especially Pet Sounds' influence on the Beatles and like really started to take them more seriously, as opposed to like Kokomo. Even the later shits, like these are jams. I'm not saying that I didn't know that they were good. It's just like I was like, I don't really give a shit. And then it was only later I was like, damn, dude, I could have seen these guys like from the side of the stage, probably. You know,
Yeah.
And this is when I think a couple of them were still alive because they've died over the years, starting in like the early 90s.
Somehow Brian Wilson is still alive, which is insane because he's
80 something.
He's cooked. I mean, he cooked his brain with cocaine and other drugs, but I saw him in 2011 and it wasn't as bad as that guy that you keep seeing videos for where he like comes out and lip syncs. He's like 300 years old. Yeah.
The best.
It wasn't that. It was nowhere near that. But
that I want to see. That I'll go see if that ever comes to my town.
Yeah.
Brian Wilson came out. He just kind of just like plainly walked on the stage. I think he was wearing like the swishy pants your gym teacher would wear. And he plopped down, played the songs. Some parts he just decided not to sing at all. Which Al Jardine was on the show too, and he was excellent. But a little, the magic wasn't quite there. But I was glad that I at least got to see him. You know.
How do you guys feel about like whenever you go to a show like that? Or not necessarily like that, but like you go to a show, you see your favorite band, and then it gets to a point where it's like, I can't wait to hear this part of the song. And then they hold the fucking mic out.
Oh,
to,
I hate
the audience.
Yeah.
It's like, you sing this part. It's like, I came here so you could do that.
No, I hate it. I hate that.
It makes me
especially when it's like a good part. Especially when it's like the soaring, because they don't want to do it. They don't want to do the soaring part. They want you to do it.
I know. It's just
it's the worst.
I get irrationally angry when I'm in that situation. It's like, damn it. Really? Come on. I don't know.
I've said this before in reflecting on Humphreys McGee, which is a great band, don't get me wrong. But I want the live versions of the songs I see to be like really like the record. I want there to be panache. I want it to be harder, maybe a little faster. Maybe there's like a little bit of an interlude that you throw in there somewhere or whatever.
Maybe they add a solo into something that you didn't expect.
Right, but like
I like that stuff.
But generally speaking, I love the record. So I'm here to hear like the beauty of music is that it can be it's the rare art form that's done over and over again. And
right.
And so I'm kind of there. So I'm sympathetic to both kinds of things. But anyway, yeah. I love the Beach Boys. I don't know how the fuck we got on this conversation. Shout out to all those concerts I could have gone to that I didn't go to. That was great.
Yeah. I could have went, you know what's, I kick myself in the ass all the time now because I could have gone and I didn't even realize that this is what it was. But I was invited to go to when they did the South Park, do you know when they did the South Park live orchestra thing?
Yeah.
And Matt and Trey came out and they did like Let's Fighting Love on stage or whatever. I could have gone to it and I just like for some I don't know what the hell I had to do that was better than that day. But it definitely wasn't because I was like watching some of the footage and I'm like, damn, I would have loved to have been here. Especially for Let's Fighting Love. That song's amazing.
It's funny, man. Like we are all, the three of us are all live music lovers and appreciators. For all of the live shows I've been to well over 100 concerts easily. Is probably substantially more than that. And all between the ages of like 13 and 30, with the exception of like 3, which is even crazier when you think about it. I could have gone to even more, like way more. And it's like, I should have just done it. Yeah. Just to see random things. The thing that I avoided more than anything, like the plague, and I'm somewhat glad I did, but I always avoided festivals for the most part. Except for Outside Lands, because it was insane. Outside Lands was literally across the street from me in San Francisco. It's like it would be ridiculous not to go. But you know, or at least like dwell around the area, try to catch some of the music. Because I only went the first year, and then I would like just hang out in the area. You can hear it fine, like especially if like the band's on the main stage, like how I like heard Metallica and shit like that. But I was always like, such a. I remember I got invited to go to Bonnaroo a couple times. And Powwow Festival, 311 played their seminal record Transistor in its entirety there, and like a lot of people descended on that. And I was like, I just don't want to be in this scene for all this time, you know. And you feel like you got to get your money's worth, and you're dirty, and I don't know.
Yeah.
Maybe
I was invited to go to, a friend of mine's really hassling me to go to Coachella next month. And I saw some of the lineup and it's like, some of these people I would like to see, but also like, I don't know if I've never done the festival thing either for those exact reasons. So like, I don't know. I'm thinking about it, but like, no.
It's a lot.
It's too much. It's a lot.
Especially because, and not that nothing replaces being there live for a show, but things like Coachella are just like beautifully recorded and you can just watch it. That's the big thing. It's not the same, but festivals aren't really the best quality anyway.
Right.
You're probably actually getting the better experience as opposed to being in a venue with 500 people. Yeah.
Yeah, it's like watching E3 versus as opposed to like sitting at the press conference. You know, it's just like, I'd much rather be at home with like a cold drink in a comfortable room watching this beautifully broadcasted directly to me. And when it's over, I can go to sleep or do anything that I want. Yeah.
All right. I don't know how the fuck we got on any of that conversation.
Yeah, whatever.
It's already 26 minutes into the show. We got to move.
That's how we roll.
Welcome to Sacred Symbols, a PlayStation podcast. It's good to be here with my sons. It's good to be here with all of you on this, our 8th anniversary of Last Stand Media. Patreon.com/Last Stand Media for early ad-free access. We couldn't do it without you. $5 a month is a sweet spot. At that spot, you get early ad-free access to every episode of this show, access to Sacred Symbols Plus each and every week. That's our supplement. We'll talk about that in a moment. Access early ad-free to all the other shows in our network too. Constellation, Defining Duke, Punching Up, Knockbacks Returned. And we'll be doing another episode of that soon as well, and so on and so forth. Sacred Symbols is sponsored by Opera GX, the web browser that implores you to ditch your boring standby like Chrome or Safari for something a whole lot more functional. Learn more for yourself at operagx.gg/sacred symbols. When it comes to web browsers, Opera isn't exactly a new name in town. In fact, it's a very old name in town, having first launched back in 1995. And its specialized Opera GX browser, first launched much later in 2019, is geared towards the very people who are listening to shows like Sacred Symbols, you know, gamers, or if you'd prefer, players of games. For starters, Opera GX dodges bloat by allowing you to limit its access to your rig's CPU and RAM, so that you dodge lag and keep frame rates and resolutions sky high in whatever you're playing as your browser sits in the background. Like any good browser, Opera GX likewise supports a ton of mods that can help customize your experience right on down to the smallest UI and UX detail. And perhaps the coolest feature of Opera GX is what it comes with completely built in, including an onboard ad blocker and even VPN functionality that allows you to browse from the shadows, should you desire. But in reality, Opera GX speaks for itself as a gamer-centric browser alternative that caters its every feature to the player. Someone who spends a lot of time on their PC, Mac, or iOS or Android devices doing lots of things other than gaming, but also gaming, and looking for some central nexus that will help keep you organized, focused, and unencumbered. So if you want to learn more about the Opera GX browser for yourself, do so at your earliest convenience by going to operagx.gg/sacred symbols. That's operagx.gg/sacredsymbols. Again, to download the completely free go-to browser for gamers around the world, Opera GX, head to operagx.gg/sacred symbols and begin your journey today. Now, Sacred Symbols Plus. Recent episodes of the supplement include Moriarty Cross Jaffe. We talked for a while about all sorts of nonsense. I had my old friend Dustin Legary, ex-IGN guy, on. Obviously, we recently talked to Shuhei Yoshida, and that interview's been making the rounds. I sat down with Rick Hogue, the lawyer, friend of the show and virtual legality host, to talk about a trio of stories that will go live on Saturday. And we get into some unionization stuff, which is pretty interesting. This story going around that Ubisoft has lawyers standing by to kind of monitor Assassin's Creed Shadows responses and make sure that their team is well taken care of. So I wanted to get into that and some other stuff. So please look forward to that. Caleb Taylor wrote in on Patreon. One of the perks you have on Patreon as well is the ability to submit inquiries to all the shows on the newsfeed in their respective threads. And Caleb says, CDC, this is more of a suggestion rather than an inquiry. I know there's an audience for a music podcast. Obviously, the LSM output is high, so a new dedicated show would be unlikely. However, could we at least get some SS Plus episodes regarding music and games? They could cover original scores, licensed soundtracks, and sound design. This is an often forgotten layer that is immensely important in all media, and each of your individual passions for music would do this topic justice. Thanks. I actually don't mind there being music coverage at all on Sacred Symbols Plus, but I got to be honest with you, and it's so funny because we just talked wasn't even really making the connection because I'm stupid. is it's like, for as much as I love music, I live and breathe music, I really don't care about gaming music. I don't know. Like, there's game music I love, especially old stuff and things that are that swell your emotions and get you excited. And I totally get all of that, but it's like the least important part for me, to be honest, in games. And so I don't think I'm the right person, because I don't think I have the requisite passion nor knowledge of the space in regards to music. I just don't. So, but I think you guys are more into it than I am, and maybe we should try to do something to please the music loving audience. What do you guys think?
Yeah, I think this would be cool. In some ways, I don't feel like I'm the right person either, because there are soundtracks that I really love that I go out of my way to purchase a collectible vinyl or go to a concert. But for the most part, I'm not the type of guy that's like just going to put on, you know, the Kingdom Hearts 2 final mix soundtrack on a Wednesday, you know. Some people are to that degree. I think like Maddie and Cog listen to game soundtracks when they work out. Maybe they're the boys to do it.
Yeah,
that might be cool. I mean, I would be happy to be a part of it. I just I might not be the MVP of contribution in that episode.
Yeah. Go ahead, Chris.
No, I would love to do it. I love that stuff. I'm really big into music and game music specifically. Like, I think game music was really how I started getting into music in the first place. And so I think there's definitely like a connective tissue there. I would love to put together something like that. And maybe I don't know, maybe me, Matt, Cog, and Dustin could throw something together. I don't know. We'd have to plan it around like some kind of, we'd have to figure out like an angle, I guess.
Yeah, like maybe your favorite scores or memorable songs, memorable moments that are complemented by songs. I mean, there's a bunch of different even things you can do over time, you know.
For sure.
Yeah, it's funny, man. Music, I felt like the older games, well, the more we went forward in generations in game consoles, I would say the less important music became to me, because the games themselves became so dynamic that starting 25 years ago, I was listening to like CDs when I was playing games. You know, like it's me listening to like podcasts when I'm playing random things that are not story driven and that I'm not, you know, I'm just playing. Right. It's like I never really wanted to listen to the music. And it was like NES and SNES were probably the consoles where I was most fixated on the music, because the games were simpler and that was a more overt part of it. It was like one of a few things the game did, as opposed to you being immersed in some sort of, you know, simulation, which is basically like what we do now. And so the music, and so when people say like, oh, what did you think of the score? Or I really love the score of this or this song. I'm like, I'm not really sure. I mean, it's not to say that things don't stick out to me. For instance, Final Fantasy 16's music was insane. Like, it definitely was awesome. And that was like an example of, but most of the time, yeah, it fades to the background, because I think about like old NES games like Mario, like how iconic that music is. But you're looking at a 2D image, it's a side scroller, there's nothing else to really do. You're more absorbed in that. So that's the way I've always felt about it. So yeah, I'm the wrong person, but Chris is definitely the right person, and the Dukes, who you do well with. Maybe that would be an interesting trio to explore.
Yeah, that would be cool. No, I would love to do that. I love talking about that subject, like, very, very much. Like, it's I do think what you're saying is true, though. Like, I do think, like, as time has gone on, we've placed less importance on scores in general, largely because there's so much more to video games. And I think a lot of composers are more interested in kind of sucking you into an atmosphere more than they are excited to give you like a melody that sticks out, that makes you think about, like, it's definitely less melodic than it used to be. Like, even as early as like 2000, like the mid 2000s, like things were pretty melodic still. Like, used to even like, I think about the Gears of War soundtrack a lot, where it's just like there's so many good like there's so many good like tracks in that game. And Uncharted, obviously the theme to Uncharted is like big. I think Last of Us really was like the last theme that I can remember being like melodically strong. I'm sure there's others like later on, but like they become sparser after that for sure, because it's more about like, you know, swelling kind of, you know, atmospheres. But yeah, music's huge. Like, especially for like some of the games that I love about, like Red Dead and Remedy, like Alan Wake and Control have two like standout music. Yeah, this is a great idea. I would love to put something together like this. I'd have to figure out an angle for it. and see if obviously Matty and Cog would want to do it, and Dustin if he had the time. But this is a great idea.
All right, awesome. There it is, Caleb. Your wishes are command. Thanks for writing in. And Connor Reese wrote in and said, "Hey, Fats, I just finished Death Stranding Director's Cut. Bought the game when it came out in 2019. Played it for about 15 hours, then put it down to play Jedi Fallen Order, I think. I always plan to get back to it, and so with the sequel on the horizon, it was the perfect time. I spent the last week playing nothing but Death Stranding. Loved it. Am I confused? Yes. Did I enjoy the ride? Yes. Are zip lines OP? Yes. My question is, can we get a second spoiler cast and review discussion from you guys at some point before Death Stranding 2 releases? Or at least a podcast dedicated to Death Stranding so that those of us who missed out back then can hear your full spoiler thoughts on the game in anticipation of the sequel, especially since you all have had so much time to marinate since the initial release. Thank you for all that you do and keep on keeping on." I'm totally open to this. I'm going to replay it. So, and I'll probably do it maybe in May or something like that. And into June. So it'll be on the mind and we can definitely cover it again. I'm especially interested in this for two reasons. Number one is we got a lot of letters this week from people that are giving Death Stranding a chance, especially after the last trailer and us kind of gushing about it. So that's cool. And then the second thing is that more people wrote in saying like, yeah, Chris and Colin were not as high on the game as they are now. They're higher on it in retrospect. But we both really liked it a lot.
Right.
But I think we had problems, and I think I expressed one of them even that we were talking about is like I felt like I was forced into combat and I didn't really want to be, which was my major problem with the game. But it would be interesting to go back and listen to that, replay the game, and re-express how we feel now through a more modern lens, I guess, now that we've marinated on it more. So I think it would be useful for all parties involved. Yeah. So I'm totally open to it, but it's going to require people to play it again, and I don't want to really ask people to do that. So it's really, I'm amenable to whatever. I can always get Dagan to probably do it too. So yeah, I'm open to it. Shout out to Death Stranding 2, June 26th, I want to say. Something like that.
Yeah, it's late June. I definitely want to replay it. It's in my cross media bar. It's sitting there. I think that might be the next game I jump into, actually. I don't know if I want to play it too close to the release of Death Stranding 2, because I have a feeling I'll get into like I'm learning that I have like a particular cadence with this kind of thing where like I can't overexpose myself to a particular style for too long. That was my mistake with Final Fantasy VII, where like I did remake and then I went immediately into Rebirth, and I was like, I don't know if I can do that really, because I just get burned out way quicker. So like I think if I play through Death Stranding like now, give myself some time away from it, play some other stuff in between, the story will still be fresh in my mind, and I can still, make the connections that I would need to make to the second one without necessarily feeling like I've just gone on this like fucking 150 hour trek
right
through the United States or wherever the hell we're going to be trekking
around the world at that point.
But I'm totally going to be replaying Death Stranding in part just to refamiliarize myself, but also just like I never played any of the director's cut stuff. So there's a bunch of new stuff in there that I straight up don't know about, and I would love to have more context for it.
When I played it on PS4, I didn't do I beat it and did as much as I could, but I never did everything. I didn't platinum it or anything like that. The PS5 version is supposed to be awesome, and I'm sure it's supposed to be even better on Pro. I would assume.
I would hope. Yeah, I would imagine. Yeah.
So I'm looking forward to it, but I got to give it a little bit more time. Because I want to do it pretty close. Maybe it's a bad idea, like you're saying.
Well, you don't have that problem. I do. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like you're clearly fine going into like I just played 600 hours of The Last of Us.
Yeah,
and I'm ready for the second spoiler. I can't do it. It's something in my brain.
I totally understand. I get it. Yeah, I'm broken. All right. What else? All right. So those inquiries. Yeah. So we will look into those ideas, and we appreciate you guys writing in about that. Thank you for your support there. And thank you for your support on Patreon. Also, I'll leave the specifics, I think, for next week or whenever it rolls out. But the RSS feed situation, we'll have very good news for you soon on that. So thank you for your patience on that. Sorry for breaking everything. Anything else here? Oh, merch. LastStandMedia.store. We have Sacred merch back in stock. Hopefully we'll never really go out of stock again for a long period of time. Sorry about that. We kind of dropped the ball on that front, but I take responsibility for it. I'm not really paying attention. So to the merch store, I just forget about it. There's just a billion other things on my plate. So things are going there. LastStandMedia.store. new shirts. You can get hats, stickers, sweatshirts, all sorts of interesting goodies, and free shipping in the United States on all stickers. So if you just want to get a sticker, we'll send it to you for the cost of the sticker itself. Please leave nice reviews on podcast services. You can find us on YouTube if you would prefer to watch the video version. We're a podcast company, but people like the video versions. All right, let's get into topics of discussion. A few interesting things here. Dustin, this first one's for you. It comes from Corey Ramon. Ramon says, "Hey, Colin, look, we love the dynamics of the show, but I find myself at times really wanting to hear from Dustin. Too often you and Christopher will speak for what feels like 20 or 30 minutes at a time, just the two of you. And not once is Dustin allowed to have any input. It's as if he's not there. No one brings him in, he can't interrupt, and often the topic just changes without us having heard a single word from Dustin on it. Dustin gives a really good perspective from what feels like the closest to a normal gamer opinion. You and Christopher are way too out there with your choices and opinions sometimes. So it really feels off when Dustin doesn't seemingly get a chance to even have an opinion that can even out the perspectives. Please let Dustin speak more. Love from the UK." Thank you for writing in, Corey. Dustin, thoughts?
This feels a little exaggerated. I feel like I get a lot of opportunities to talk. I'm past the floor all the time. There's two ways you can look at this. Oftentimes it is true. I have a lot less to say than you guys. And there's two sides, like I said. There's the side that I'm able to densely and effectively communicate. That's maybe the good side. The bad side, I'm a simpleton and don't have as much to say. What's the truth? Probably a little bit of both, depending on the situation. So, I appreciate that people want to hear from me, but I'm just saying I'm just talking when I have something to say. I don't necessarily agree with this fully, but
I try to be cognizant of trying to pitch. So there would be a mantra of like always pitching to one person and then always pitching to the second person in that order, right? But I feel like there are advantages and disadvantages of being in both slots. The advantage is like if you get to go first, then you get to speak on a topic or whatever. You get to go first, and so like nothing has been said. But then the second person gets the advantage of like spinning off of that topic and maybe getting to something you never even thought of, which pings pongs back to you and so on and so forth. And I don't want people to be in the same position all the time. Mm-hmm. So I do try to remember, not that it's like one-to-one, but I try to remember, I'm like, oh, I've pitched to Chris a few times, I should pitch to Dustin, or I've pitched to Dustin a few times, I should pitch to Chris. But yeah, I'm still a work in progress even after all these years. I could probably be better. I try to stay off the mic. Like one thing that I think we do exceptionally well on this show, like way better than any podcast I listen to, definitely, is not interrupting. Yeah. And obviously we are remote, so there's going to be some interruptions, but some podcasts I listen to where I'm like, dude, shut the fuck up. Like let the other person, like you interrupted the person 5 times and then you never even went back to that person. Even if we have a sidebar and we get distracted by things, because of the perpetual nature of our show, it's like we can just go back and spend as much time as we want on a topic. So I don't stress it too much. But this is good feedback if this is the way people feel. But Dustin doesn't seem to agree.
It's certainly true that I speak less than both of you. I can see it in the waveform when I'm putting the show together, but it's not. I don't look at the waveform and feel suppressed. Like I said earlier, I just sometimes don't have a lot to say, or I say what I say and it just doesn't take very long. So I can try to chime in more, but be careful what you wish for.
Oh.
Might not like it. I might talk about Balatro again for 30 minutes.
Oh, wonderful.
I remember getting similar kind of, I remember reading some comments early on and being like, Chris doesn't say enough. And then like, I try to extend like a thought more than is natural. Then the natural like resolution of what that thought would be. And then people are like, Chris talks too much. And it's like, there's no real, just densely communicate and that's it. And that's the best you can really do.
Just say what you want. Succinctness is good. Brevity is good. Length is good. I don't care. Whatever you, I just don't really calibrate things like that. The one thing that I do see sometimes is like Colin talks too much and I'm like, well, that's too bad. I'm the host of the show. So yeah. I have to steer things and I also do a lot of research and do have a lot of things to say about these things. So
yeah,
try to share that with you. We'll see that later in the show. Okay. Corey, be well. Thank you for writing in. Dustin, I'm sorry. Mattias Kuklitsky wrote in and said, hey, Chris, how'd you do a poker night?
Oh, yeah, that's right. So, anticlimactic story. I didn't end up going to this thing because I checked. Colin will know this as an ex Los Angeles resident. But it got to a point where like the scheduling of it like got delayed a little bit. It was like, all right, we're going to start at this time instead. And then I looked at the time that I would have had to leave. And then I saw how long it would take to get there at the time that we had now scheduled this poker night for. And I was just like, I'm not spending an hour in traffic to go to poker night.
Yeah,
I'm just not. I'm not
Google,
doing it.
dude, that Google functionality on Google Maps of being able to put in specific times,
Oh, dude,
like in
yeah.
the future, was revolutionary for me in LA. Because it's like, yeah, it looks great now. Let's see what it looks like at this time. And it's like traditionally, this is fucked. It's like, okay, I'll stay away from that.
Yeah. So like, I mean,
I get it.
I would have liked to go, but like, I don't know. The traffic really is like a
Major problem.
especially in an Uber. You know what I mean? Like, I'm spending money to be here, basically. So it's like, no, I'm under no circumstances am I going to spend money and time. By the way, this is a place that you can get to with no traffic in 15 to 20 minutes.
Yeah, no doubt.
It's ridiculous.
No doubt. When I used to go to Dave Rubin's place, which you know where that is in LA.
That was in Sherman Oaks, I think.
Yeah, right. And he's not been there for many years, but like that's where he was when I knew him in LA. That's where you and I met, actually, that one day,
right.
which is so funny.
It is hilarious.
Like I would go there sometimes for dinner, and it would be like dinner time. It would take like over an hour, right? And then we would leave at night after dinner in the middle, 11 or 12, and we get home in like 12 minutes. And I'd be like, this is fucking annoying that this is true. What is going on with this place? And how can they improve it? But I just don't think there's anything you can do about it. It's just a huge sprawl. So I'm totally sympathetic to what you're saying.
Yeah. So sorry for the anticlimax, but I didn't win. Well, I guess I won money because I didn't have to spend the Uber or the time to go. I look at it as like a positive, but I'm gonna want to go to the next one. I just like they got to plan it a little better, and I think I suggested like a better time just for traffic because people are coming from all over the place. To go to this thing, and there are just certain times that just make no sense to hold these things, So,
all right, Maddie. So I hope that answers your question.
Yeah.
John Lalinjaman.
Whoa.
I'm sure I fucked that one up.
Yeah.
Lalinjaman.
Lalinjaman.
Like where does one put the emphasis? I don't know.
Yeah, that's a tricky one.
Hey, greetings. Oh, I'm sorry. What did you say, Chris? I didn't mean to.
No, I was gonna say I'm usually pretty good with last names, but that's a stumper right there, man.
Yeah, me too. Yeah, I've never seen this one. John says, hey, greetings from the Philippines, and probably your only Filipino patron? Probably not, but there probably aren't many of you. I haven't looked. Anyway, Colin, I've increasingly noticed how you're always sighing during shows. Are you okay, sir? Are you just tired? Hopefully everything's fine. Love most of the Last Stand Media's content. Thank you.
I love the honesty.
Yeah, that was awesome. I'm just exacerbated at all times, John.
Right.
And extremely just anxious and stressed out all of the time. So I have to kind of just interrupt that to record the shows. And the sighs kind of help moderate that probably in some respect. So don't worry about me. I'm 40. I've been like this for 40 years. And hopefully for 40 more, maybe even longer than that.
You've been sighing exasperatedly for 40 out the womb.
Yeah. I was like, oh, God.
Have you ever seen, now that I think about it, I don't think I've ever seen a baby sigh.
Yeah. When do kids start sighing?
I don't know. I can't. You know what I mean? I can't conjure up that image in my head as if I've seen it before. I don't even know what that would sound like. They really are unburdened. You were immediately burdened.
I was burdened by so many things.
You were born and you were like,
Well,
off I go into this hellscape. Plastic in my brain and in my balls. What a hellish place.
Yeah, John, I feel like you should get it better than you do.
Yeah.
All right. Diddy's Daycare wrote in and said, Colin, I joined Patreon to tell you about a dream I had. You were somewhere with your sister watching the League of Legends tournament. I entered the establishment and sat next to you, making small talk as a fan of yours, saying that I thought it was that it was Dota 2 on the screen. You proceeded to cut me off to say I was not good at telling stories and that everything I was saying was very predictable. Embarrassed, I tried to apologize for wasting your time, and you proceeded to make a peekaboo faces at your sister, subtly pointing my way, insinuating I was a dumb baby. I sat on the verge of tears in silence. Is it that you didn't like my Caribbean accent being from Trinidad and Tobago? My question is, what the fuck is your problem? I don't know. I love that. What does it all mean? How can this be?
I love the idea of holding somebody accountable for for a dream you had.
It's
classic.
Something Micah and I joke about all the time is like getting mad at the other person for having a dream about something.
Yeah, you cheated on me in my dream.
Yeah, exactly. And like you hold that against me. That shit's funny as hell, actually.
It's good stuff.
All right. Finally, well, we have two more things because I actually added this one, a second one here after this. We can get to it quickly, though. Joey Malone wrote in and said, hey, CDC, this one is for Colin. I heard you say on the show in the last week when bidets were brought up that wipes are king. Please tell me you don't use the flushable wipes. They are terrible for your plumbing, as any professional, he says. I don't know. I will tell you is probably what he wanted to say.
Right.
If they were degradable in water, how do they stay wet in the packaging? Put one in a cup of water and put regular toilet paper in another cup and come back in an hour. Anyway, that's all. Keep up the great work. Hey, Joey, I don't flush them. Do you think I need you to come yell at me about this? Just throw them away. I'm no fool. I watch Drain Addict on YouTube almost every night. The flushable wipes are the bane of everyone's existence. They fuck everything up. I know that. Yeah.
Wait,
I saw a YouTube video of something about New York City's like their sewer system and how they have like giant. They have some word for it. It's not iceberg, but it's something berg, and they're like these giant stacks of shit and flushable wipes, and how it's a major problem. Imagine that, taking care of that.
Hopefully, it pays well.
Hopefully, probably not.
Yeah.
The wipe, I feel like people are confused about it. And maybe there are some examples where it gets catastrophic or whatever, and you really need a wipe, but the wipe is the security at the end. There's 9 out of 10 times there's really nothing on it. And I just drop it into the garbage. And then if there's something on it, I wrap it usually in another one. And then I drop it in the garbage.
Double wrap it.
Yeah, and then that way, like,
yeah, no, I get it.
Like, in other words, like if there's like exposed poop on it, or whatever, no one wants to see that. It's, you want to be a little cleaner, but most of the time it's just the security blanket to say, like, am I clean? Yes. Here's a little bit of extra cleanliness. And, we get rid of the garbage every few days, so it's no big deal. So I'm not flushing the wipes. I'm not a fucking idiot. I know that. I know that's a lie. It's a lie.
It's crazy that they're allowed to sell that, though, if that's the case. Like, I don't even understand how that seems like it should be like illegal in some way, right? Because that's like a danger to like public irrigation and all sorts of it. Like, how do they get away with that, marketing them as flushable wipes if they clearly are not flushable?
Yeah, I don't know. I really don't know. I don't know.
Yeah.
But I'm watching the Drain Addict in Australia pull these things out of the fucking drain dozens at a time. It's gross.
I don't know.
Dustin, what do you want? Speak on this for 15 minutes, please.
For 15 minutes. Well, the bidet, you should try it. It's
I'm so afraid of having my butthole tickled by it.
It doesn't tickle. I mean, if you put it on full blast, I mean, you could enemize yourself.
Yeah.
If you'd like, which I have done on accident.
Yeah.
Just a little in there, but it kind of, I'm not trying to do it, but when it does happen, it's feels a little cleansing. So, but yeah, it's nothing about it that's not hygienic.
Is it like if I sat over a water fountain?
More or less, I would say. Yeah.
And I just don't understand what that doesn't seem like it's enough. You need the water, but you also need the abrasion. the pressure of the water, right?
The erosion factor.
Right.
Yeah.
I feel like there's got to be a balance there. It just seems like you're kind of wetting your butthole.
There's more pressure than a water fountain, for sure.
Okay.
Power wash
sometimes depending on the consistency, you might need to shift around a little bit. And then I would say 9 out of 10 times you use a bidet, you use toilet paper and it's totally clean. It's just wet. It's gotten everything. So
I just don't know about it. I'm too afraid of it. That's French.
The idea of that's a psychotic fear. The idea that like you have to like move around to like get the it almost feels like I don't even know, like WarioWare or something. Like it feels
WarioWare micro mini game.
Yeah, like
your ass.
Yeah, like a 6-axis kind of like aim your asshole at the fountain. Like I don't know. There's something about the bidet. Like I'm not opposed to it, but like I haven't made the jump to installing one. You know, like I've used them and they're fine, but I also feel like I need more from them that I don't know. There's something about it.
Colin, you shared about ripping your asshole or something at one point.
Oh yeah, bad news. Bad news.
So with full transparency with the audience, I've gotten to the point with the bidet. I've got my butthole is weak. It's
full transparency.
It is. I've got to the point where when I travel now, bad news. Standard wiping hurts.
Yeah, it's like you're in that trap of like why I stopped using chapstick.
Right.
Because my lips were always chapped and then I would use it. And then when I stopped using it for like a week, it was tough and then it was fine. And everything was like, I was just totally fine after that. You are self-selecting. Right.
And that's the price you got to pay, because here's the thing. I don't know, 49 out of 50 poops are going to be at home. So really, and when I go to my parents' house, which is probably the second most likely place to take a dump, they got bidets too. I'm set. When I travel to Japan, bidets. I'm all set in the places I like to be and go. So it's only when I'm traveling for an extended period of time, you know,
right?
Like you can, dude, sure enough, if you saw me on one of the last days of our work trips where we're doing live events, I've got pain in my butthole a little bit.
Oh my God.
Not horrible. I'm surviving, but I'm just saying that's where the wipes come in. That's good for travel. Travel wipe.
And you can flush those right down the hotel toilet. That's okay.
Yeah, hotel, fuck them.
Shit.
Yeah, they probably got a garbage disposal in that fucking thing.
Yeah. I was gonna say that thing could probably suck a fucking fart out of your asshole when you flush it in the hotel anyway. So
now, something to consider. There are companies that make portable bidets, and that feels not hygienic to me. Because I know if I'm squatted down, I just finished taking a dump, and I'm using a squeeze bottle, the little tip of that's probably going to brush around.
Yeah,
like it's just
squeeze bottle. Jesus,
what the
wipe your ass.
Is going on?
I just can't with this anymore.
I'm not doing the portable bidet. No,
we got 9 more minutes of this.
Oh, good.
So,
yeah.
Because we wanted 15 minutes of weak assholes and
I got a weak
advanced toilet.
Weak asshole. Initially, I was going to say my asshole was a little pussy asshole, but I was like,
no, man,
I can't say that.
Full transparency.
You did now.
A little pussy down there. You know,
that's heinous. Every time you go to a hotel, you're just bleeding out profusely. You have to wheeled out in an ambulance.
Yeah, if your ass is always in pain when you're traveling, I wonder why. Get off a grinder.
I was gonna say most of my trips are with the boys, so
stay away from the RNC.
All right. Let's see. Where are we here? I was on the wrong document. Finally, I don't know if Dustin, you have to fill me in on this. I don't know what this is. If this is just pure slander, I don't know. Tundra Boy wrote in. It said, "Can Last Stand Media please address the Bradley Ellis furry allegations? His posts on R Sonic 34 suggests he wants to have sexual experiences with Rogue the Bat, or Rouge. It's Rouge, right? Rouge the Bat. He was all, and it says Rouge, so I should be able to read that. He was also recently promoted to moderator on the Cream the Rabbit subreddit. This seems like, is this slander? Or it would be libel, I guess.
Could be libel. I personally haven't heard these allegations, but the important thing to understand is that Last Stand, we take all allegations very seriously, and I will be opening up an investigation.
Yeah. Yeah, please. Like, this seems libelous, which is why I wanted to read it on the show so that everyone else can hear it.
Right. This seems like libel.
Cream the rabbit.
Broadcast it.
You guys tell me, is this libel from Tundra Boy? I don't know. Brad, got a secret life.
Some splaining to do.
All right. Let's get into some news. Smaller news items to begin. Thought this was an interesting little tweet from the official Final Fantasy Twitter account, X account, whatever. Final Fantasy Pixel Remaster series has sold over 5 million copies worldwide. And the Final Fantasy series has now sold over 200 million copies globally. It's a nice little benchmark. There's a lot of Final Fantasy games, so it's not as impressive as it probably seems. But I would love to see how it's all. I would love to see the numbers. It's very specific, down to the individual digit. I'm also curious with the Final Fantasy Pixel Remaster. It says series, so I'm assuming that's 5 million copies between all of them. So if I bought the collection, does that count as 6?
I would assume so.
Yeah.
That sounds like the best way they could beef up that number.
Yeah. Then if that's true, that's not great. Because I would think there would be way more interest in them than that. So I wonder what that means. But nonetheless, congratulations to Square Enix for 200 million copies sold for Final Fantasy. They hate us because they ain't us, wrote in. Said, greetings, sacred brethren. In my opinion, the popularity of the Final Fantasy franchise has been greatly overstated. While the series has enjoyed a level of commercial success over the years that keeps it alive, units sold are never commensurate to Square's expectations given each title's budget and development time. It's time to admit that while Final Fantasy certainly isn't an obscure franchise, it comes nowhere close to titles like The Witcher 3 or Cyberpunk in terms of units sold and cultural footprint. Square needs to adjust their expectations and realize that Final Fantasy VII was almost 30 years ago, yet it's still somehow the best-selling Final Fantasy game of all time. What are your thoughts? It's an interesting thought. Again, 200 million copies sold is an enormous amount of copies when you think about it, yet the series began in 1987 and there are dozens of entries. It's not just Final Fantasy 1 through 16. There are spin-offs and re-releases and compilations and ports, and so it's a really nice, solid number that I'm sure any publisher would be thrilled with. But I wonder if they hate us because the anus is right here, Dustin. That Final Fantasy just isn't as big as maybe it once was and maybe never will be again, especially after 16, which I was surprised was. I think it sold millions of copies. It did a nice job, but I'm surprised it wasn't bigger because it was so good.
Yeah, it is a shame about 16 because you're right, it was excellent. But some anecdotal thoughts on this is that I remember when I was in Japan hanging out with Genki the guy from Twitter, Genki. We went to the Square Enix cafe that's right outside their main building in Shinjuku. And there was almost nobody there, except for a few other, I don't want to say like middle-aged people, but older people that was probably around our age. And I was talking to Genki about it. He's like, yeah, Final Fantasy isn't, I mean, it's big, of course, in Japan, but it's not super big. It's not as big as you would think. And for a lot of aspects of it, it's not appealing to a younger generation. And I wonder if that's the case overall, not just in Japan, but here that, Final Fantasy 16 not blowing up the way that they would expect. And, with Final Fantasy 7 Remake and Rebirth, I mean, both big games, but not meteoric. And it's unfortunate, but truthfully, Final Fantasy has had a lot of ups and downs throughout the IP as well, where some games certainly didn't hit as well. So they don't necessarily have a huge, I would say they have a consistency of being at the very least good. I mean, I'm trying to think, is there truly a horrible Final Fantasy? Not in the main line. Maybe some people would say 13, but there's been a lot of revision about that.
I don't even know. None of them are like bad. There are some bad Final Fantasy games, but not bad games. Like 13 would have been a great modern, RPG with linear RPG with a really interesting combat system and stuff. But we just had different expectations for a Final Fantasy 13.
Right.
So I think that's what injured it. And maybe that's what you're saying. Yeah. Some of the spinoffs were bad. People don't like Dirge of Cerberus, which is why it's never, I think, seen the light of day since its launch. But then there are really good ones like Crisis Core that silently sell probably a few million copies. So it's chip damage, I think. I think he's, and I'm curious what you think, Chris. Like, I think he's probably right in that when Final Fantasy came out in 87 or whatever, it was on the back of Dragon Quest, and other than Ultima and some PC stuff, which was big, but there wasn't a lot of competition for the role-playing market, and they were kind of pioneering the role-playing game market. And when I was playing Final Fantasy V and for Knockback recently, and I went and researched it and read a lot about it, it's like Final Fantasy V was fucking huge in Japan. It sold like 2 million copies or something, like almost immediately, which is crazy. Like that's like that's like a percentage of the population, like a material percentage of the population bought the game. But I think as time went on, the market became more eroded by stiffer competition, and some of it didn't stay around, but it was there. So like you had like Star Ocean for a minute, you had Breath of Fire for a little while, just things like Tales, and so on and so forth. And then so you get to the modern era, and now it's kind of washed out where there's just too much competition. And I feel like the competition comes from the likes of Nihon Falcom and others that do like Trails of Cold Steel and the East games and stuff that have lower expectations and more hardcore fan bases, and there's just not enough oxygen. So I don't know if it's a reflection on Final Fantasy as much as it's a reflection on the JRPG market being more flooded with games.
Yeah, maybe. I mean, I know anecdotally most of the people that I know personally who play video games either don't play Final Fantasy or have straight up never. You know, they're aware of it mainly, like they're aware of it kind of in the periphery. So in my personal like life, Final Fantasy has always been kind of this thing, kind of in the peripheral of the stuff that I was interested in, and so like it doesn't necessarily surprise me that it isn't bigger. But it is one of those things where it almost feels like this isn't exactly an accurate comparison, but I think it kind of gets at the idea where it's like it's big in the way that like David Lynch is big. You know what I mean? Like if you're a cinema guy, like those movies, you know like Lost Highway and things like that. But if you're not really into that stuff and you only like kind of maybe you go into, let's say you only see like Marvel movies or something, you know what I mean? You're not going to know what the fuck Twin Peaks Fire Walk With Me is. You know what I mean? Like there's no shot that you're going to, that's just not in your world at all. But that's like that's where a lot of the attention is. Even in television, a lot of the attention is in just like spinoffs. So like, oh, did you see the Acolyte from Star Wars? Oh, did you see Daredevil Born Again? A lot of it is like very, it's very catered to a very specific
Young
market.
Sheldon.
Yeah. You see they're making a spinoff of Young Sheldon?
No. Oh, man. Middle-aged Sheldon.
Yeah, fetal Sheldon. I really can't. I can't even fucking fathom what. But I think, it feels like more of like a hardcore kind of thing where it's just like if you're really into, I mean, JRPGs in general, like I feel like you have to be really into games to even be into JRPGs in the first place. Like there's kind of like a filter there, I think. So it's inherently a lot smaller than something like The Witcher, which is, I know people who barely play video games at all who have somehow inexplicably played The Witcher 3 entirely. Like I've had girlfriends who've played The Witcher 3, and I'm just like, you played The Witcher 3? Like from front to, that's crazy. That's a wild game for somebody who just doesn't play games.
Definitely.
And so there's no doubt that like, especially in the modern ecosystem, like those games are more maybe broad appeal, or for some reason they have something that grabs people in a way that like maybe like Final Fantasy as a series that's been going on forever maybe doesn't have the same kind of cash. But I don't think it's like a quality thing. I think it really is just kind of the nature of how long it's been going on, the stiff competition, like you said, and also just JRPGs being a hardcore market within hardcore. Like there's almost many layers of it. You know what I mean? It took me a while to get into JRPGs, and I'm still fully not really into it. And I love video games, but it's like there is a wall there for me. I would imagine that's there for a lot of people.
I get that. I love Japanese role-playing games. I have since I was a little kid. Since I was in elementary school in the late 80s, early 90s, I fell in love with them very quickly. There was just something about them. Mm-hmm. And yet when I play them, I understand all of the trappings that would turn people off. Like when I'm grinding in a game or I'm like just doing these really arcane and weird things, it's like, like why would anyone even want to do this? It takes like a very specific kind of person that just wants to play around in menus and like grind numbers, like these arbitrary numbers up to be better than the numbers of these enemies. And it's some JRPGs are skill based, but not typically. A lot of it is about just willpower and planning and power. And that's part of what I loved about it, was the scaling and all of the rest. So
yeah. And I think success, like a lot of successful games, like traditionally have been games where you can kind of, not to say that they're dumb necessarily, but they're, you've had a long day at work, shut your brain off, go do this thing. Like Mario. Mario's not like a hard game conceptually. It's hard to execute think sometimes, like maybe there's levels where like there's like a tricky jump or whatever, but it's not like you're never like, what do I do here? And I think being stuck in that way turns a lot of people off. And not to say that it's wrong or right or whatever, but like it definitely is there. It's the difference between like a Mario game and like a JRPG, where it's just like the game demands more of you, I think, and people are just less willing to meet a challenge in that way, I think, and that manifests in the numbers. I think Mario's obscene how popular Mario is.
Yes, I'm excited to see a new one. See what like it's been a long time. It's been 8 years, I think, something like that.
Mm-hmm.
So as I said, I wasn't crazy about that last Mario game. I got to be honest.
It was okay.
But I've played pretty much every Mario game and beaten most of them, I think, if not almost all of them. So,
did you play Wonder?
No, Wonder I never played. I played everything through Galaxy 2, I guess. And then I beat, I should say. And then I played Odyssey, but I never beat it. I got maybe 60 of the whatever shines, whatever they call it in the game.
Yeah.
What were they in that game? I don't even remember.
I think it's like moons.
Yeah,
it was like shines.
Moonshines, yeah, something like that.
Moonshine.
Not moonshines.
Moonshines, yeah.
Mario's fucking
hammered,
drunk off his ass
in New Donk City.
Yeah, jorking it in the street.
Jorking it, dude. Power moons. That's it.
Power moons.
Right. Yeah.
All right. I thought this next piece of news was interesting. It's not a surprise, but you guys might recall late last year, Age of Empires 2 kind of inadvertently leaked in some sort of beta or some sort of closed test, where a PlayStation logo appeared on a screen, and someone got a screenshot of it and inexplicably disappeared or whatever, and they kind of tightened things up, and it was obvious that they were planning and testing a PlayStation port of that particular game, which we know is coming imminently. Age of Mythology is already out. I think Age of Empires 2 Definitive Edition is coming shortly in April. So it's happened again. This comes from the Hive of Scum and Villainy Reset Era, which has a post there. Starfield Creations are starting to show the PlayStation logo. And the screenshots are just like in Age of Empires, clear as day. In the modding, I guess the modding community, there are these different screens that you see with it's information about likes, views, bookmarks, plays, installation size, all of this stuff. And then it'll say if it works on PC and Xbox with logos for a PC and an Xbox. And lo and behold, there is a PlayStation logo on the screenshot. And then if you go to the details, there's another screen where it says available for Xbox, and it shows it, PlayStation, it shows it, PC, and it shows it. This is proof. Not that we really needed it. That Starfield, I assume, is coming this year. I would maybe even imagine this summer. Something like that, the PlayStation 5. Maybe along with... They already released one expansion, right?
Yeah.
So that will come, and then maybe the second expansion will be day and date or whatever, because I know they're planning some other thing with it. I don't know if it's another expansion or a big update or whatever it is, but I saw it. I can't remember the name of it.
Yeah.
It's Starborn, isn't it? Something like that?
It's Shattered Space is the one that came out. Are you talking about the new?
The new one is something. I don't know.
Maybe. I don't know. I stopped paying attention to the updates for that game, but
so anyway, this is happening. Dustin, expound on this for 12 minutes, please.
12 minutes. Well, Starfield.
What can you say?
It's not going to move the needle for me being on PS5.
Yeah.
And just my personal opinion, Starfield was a huge waste of $70 for me. So, but I know a lot of people really like it. A lot of people will be excited to play this on PlayStation. It's not surprising that it's coming to PlayStation, and I'm sure they will make a decent chunk of change having it over there. I was trying to remember, obviously, Phil Spencer has said many things that have changed, but I feel like I remember in that the business update, they're like, "Is Starfield coming to PlayStation?" He's like, "No." Which, of course, I understand that was the plan at that time, so I'm not gonna play any funny games here, but it is ironic. So, hopefully it's out this summer, because this year has already been crazy, and with GTA on the horizon, and then the slew of whatever late, second half of the year games, the sooner the better, I would say.
Yeah, I mean, it's funny that with the rumors of the Obsidian, I'm sorry, not Obsidian, Oblivion remaster release, Doom. They have a South of Midnight is not for PlayStation, but coming to Xbox. They just have like a shit ton of things coming out. It seems like, is this the cadence that they have always wanted? Or is this like a lot happening at once, even with a family of studios as big as what Microsoft owns? Because it just seems like a lot of games at once. But I think they just were like, let's just get this over with. And at least start porting the games over. I'll be interested to see what it means for Fable and some of these other games, and if they'll actually just end up coming to PlayStation at the same time. Chris, Starfield on PlayStation, I assume, doesn't move the needle for you either, but do you think that it will be a relevant release on PlayStation? I assume it will do pretty well.
Yeah, I don't know. I'm like one of the. I mean, I put 100 hours into Starfield. I'm pretty much done with it. But I actually enjoyed it. Like I'm like a rare Starfield defender. Like I make no mistake, it is definitely like a 7 out of 10 video game. If you want to simplify it. But there was something about it that I did enjoy. I like the vibe. I like the atmosphere. I think that's mainly why I played Bethesda games in the first place. Really, is it's more about vibe than anything else. That story was kind of whatever, and the gameplay itself was definitely better than some of the older stuff that they've made, but definitely still a little bit behind some of the contemporaries in the space. But there was something about landing on an empty planet and getting that feel. I don't know. There's something there that I really gelled with and connected with, at least for 100 hours. So will it be a relevant release? I would have to imagine so, just out of sheer curiosity. And it is a big Bethesda game, and presumably by then, maybe they'll have this second expansion up. I know the first expansion was apparently really shitty. Apparently really, really, really not good. Even from apparently, I mean, that's what I heard from people who even liked base Starfield, was that the first update was very just like, what the hell is this?
Interesting. I didn't know that.
So, and I've listened to some of the criticism, and I tend to understand what they're talking about. Like I didn't really play it, so I can't speak to it personally, but I think it'll be reasonably big. I mean, it's definitely a draw in some ways, but it's also got some stink on it, so it's hard to predict these kinds of things. But I would imagine it's going to be a big tentpole thing just for the sheer, it's that game that they said wasn't coming. It's now here. It's probably going to be a lot of people checking it out out of curiosity. And so, yeah, I think it'll be a big game. I don't know if it'll chart highly, but
yeah, like, does it benefit? Like it both benefits from and suffers from the timing in terms of, obviously it's older, so there's that, but it also wasn't very well received, so people know that, I think.
Yeah.
There could be an argument saying like, well, it's been greatly improved, it's better now, it'll have a whole new round of reviews that might boost its score, and that's gonna be a like, I talk about how I think there is a PlayStation bias at a lot of these places, so I'm fairly open about this, my opinions on the matter with reviewing games, but it's going to be a dramatic thing if the score on Metacritic for the PS5 launch of Starfield is like 10 points higher or something like that. But it might authentically be. That's kind of the thing, is like, it might literally be in a much better position now. And but it's going to be, people are going to be so upset.
It's a better game in the sense that like they've made like minor quality of life improvements to like UI and stuff. So like it will probably chart a little better. Like I don't know about 10 points. Maybe like I could see maybe like a 3-point maybe difference, or like maximum, like I could see that, because there were some things in base Star, like there was no vehicle that you could drive around, and that kind of made some exploration pretty tedious. That exists now. But then it's also got that expansion in it that like people just didn't like. So like I actually don't know how that would even it out. Maybe it would just even out to the same exact score. But But yeah, it'll be a big thing. I guess my curiosity with this is like, how close is this compared to like the Oblivion remake? You know, because that's kind of a lot at once.
I would agree. Yeah, maybe July or something. If the Oblivion remake's April or May, maybe you go July and keep it there.
We're operating also under the kind of colloquial wisdom of why would you put anything out around GTA? So I feel like we're assuming that a lot of things are going to avoid fall like the plague. And so we're kind of assuming, fairly or unfairly, that like a lot of these things that we're hearing about now are either going to be like next year or really soon. And so like, how much space do you have to put out something like Starfield with like all the expansions or whatever you want to call it, and Oblivion remake, while also giving enough time to, you know, you got Doom in there also. Like it's kind of a crowded window because of GTA, I think. Because a lot of people are, you know, waiting with bated breath.
Yeah, but I wonder when they're going to say a date or if they're going to announce that it's delayed again. But I think it's probably, I don't want to say it's urgent, but because I don't think it's urgent at all. They're going to sell a lot of copies regardless, but I'm sure they want this fall, this holiday. Like, and I'm sure it's urgent in some sense to get it done in time for maybe a November release at the very latest.
Yeah.
They've been working on it for so long. So Starfield, I don't know. Does it move the needle for me? It'll be interesting that it's available, so it's an option. But I've said before, and I'll say again, that I'm just, and you can just look at my play history. It's like I'm just really not hot on Bethesda Game Studios' more recent stuff with Fallout 4 specifically, where I tried it twice, and I'm like, I'm just not into this. It's good. Like I get it. I do get it. I understand why people like it. But I'm like, it's just not very fine. I felt like this in 2015 when Fallout 4 came out. I was like, why does it play like this still? Like, why does it, we had literally gotten The Witcher 3 earlier that year. And it's like, there's no excuse for this. Like for like what, like a lot of what's happening in this game and your like fucking archaic engine and all this weird shit.
Yeah. So
I'm actually more likely, I think, to play Skyrim all the way through and try that than I am to play Starfield. But maybe I'll get the Starfield again. I'd like to. It bothers me more that I've skipped these various games and don't really understand them, and so I just think I'm setting myself up for disappointment with Starfield. Even if the whole space thing is awesome for me. Obviously, I love space; it's like my favorite thing. But
yeah,
but that's I'm turned off by the. Yeah, I'm sorry. Go ahead.
No. I mean, I actually feel like of Bethesda's things, I feel like Starfield is probably like the most your speed because it isn't like this sprawling kind of open. It is more like a Mass Effect 2 kind of game where it's more like
locations.
It's more locations and like zones. Like you're not really like walking out into the fucking distance and finding shit. It's really more not on rails. Like I don't even know how to really describe it. It's just more directed, I guess. And I think that space feel is very, very up your alley. But I also feel like, you know, it is definitely just like a slightly better feeling Fallout 4 gameplay wise. Like it is better, but you know, it ain't most first person combat games that you're going to play, like even since Fallout 4 came out, you know.
Longer time listeners will remember that I was actually really bullish on Starfield as far as it being, I was like, because remember my argument was they have to know that everything rides on this in a lot of ways. And I think I remember saying, I'm like, I wouldn't be surprised if it was like a 90 plus on Metacritic. And I was just dead ass wrong. Like, I don't know why I thought that. Well, I just explained why I thought it, but I don't know why I was so confident in that. So in some sense, like if it was the game that I thought it was going to be, I would have been all over it probably. But
yeah,
I believe people generally when they're like, yeah, it's just something, there's something about it, but maybe I have to see it for myself, but I just don't think so. I think I do, like I've said before, I do think about Skyrim fairly often where I'm like, I should really just try this. Yeah.
Skyrim is a contagious game. There's something about it. Like even people who hate it, I think, have to admit that it's like there's something about the stickiness of Skyrim is truly insane, and it defies any kind of. You really can't make an argument that Skyrim is a bad game because it's stuck around for so long and it is so ubiquitously like relevant.
Yeah, it's interesting.
You know, like there's no argument to be made really.
And I played the PS3 version back in the day, so
that's a rough one.
Yeah, and I was like, I was really put off by it. I was like, this sucks. Like even I noticed it, and I'm not much of a performance guy. I was like, this is horrible. And I wrote a piece, I think, about it on IGN at the time, actually. Okay. Guys, I was really, really excited to see this news. And I don't know how you feel about the series, but I'm a huge fucking fan. Our friends over at Gamatsu.com, sometimes tweet out little discoveries they make as they troll the various ratings board websites, which is where they find a lot of these discoveries. And someone's got to do it. Plants vs. Zombies Reloaded has been rated for PlayStation 5 in Brazil and seems to signal a re-release, hopefully, of the original Plants vs. Zombies, which famously came to Windows in 2009 and to the phone where it really took off in 2010. I first played it on PS3 when it came to PSN in 2011, and I still contend that the best place to play it is on Vita. There was a 2012 Sony published port of the game. It was one of the last releases of the original Plants vs. Zombies ever, and it was so fucking good on there. I love Plants vs. Zombies. I think it's such a phenomenal game. And tower defense, there's something very satisfying about it. Some of them are very kinetic and crazy and frantic. What I like about this game is that it's both difficult and requires skill, but it moves at a certain cadence and pace where you can kind of breathe a little bit, and the game breathes, and you can't really just rattle off choices. There's, loading times for the recharge times for the various cards you use, and different sorts of enemies that you're dealing with, and different sort of obstacles. But there's something very, very clever about the entire thing. And one of my great disappointments was when Plants vs. Zombies 2 came out, and it had come out in the environment of the free-to-play race to the bottom madness, and it consumed that game. And it sucked. The gameplay was cool, but it was underneath this facade of famously, you couldn't buy it. You couldn't buy it. If you wanted to just opt in and say, like, I'll literally give you $40 if you remove all of this bullshit. Like, no. Download it for free. And it annoyed the fuck out of me and really put me off. And then, of course, the Plants vs. Zombies spinoffs, at least the first one was pretty popular. Garden Warfare, which is a great name. Wonderful name. And it was clear that it was popular because they quickly made a second one. And I think it kind of just fell off. And I think there was even a third one. Battle for Neighborville. Right. That's not a terrible idea, but I don't know that that's what PopCap envisioned when EA absorbed them at the same time. So shout out to Plants vs. Zombies. Plants vs. Zombies Reloaded. Who knows? It might be any time now on PlayStation 5 and other platforms as well. I'm all over this. All over it. Dustin, 25 minutes on Plants vs. Zombies, please. Yes. It's funny. I just watched today. There's a YouTuber, Sunny V2. Oh, yeah. I know that. Mostly does YouTuber drama videos. But today he put out a video about Plants vs. Zombies. So perfect timing for him. Interesting. But yeah, dude, the original Plants vs. Zombies rules. I played that on iPhone, I believe, and absolutely loved it. Second one, of course, not so good with its microtransactions. In that video, it's detailed something like for every $1 that EA made on Plants vs. Zombies, they made multiple $1,000s on Plants vs. Zombies 2. So as much as we hate it, it was certainly a much more profitable game than the first one. So that's unfortunate. But yeah, it sucks. And dude, they even went and fucked around and changed the original Plants vs. Zombies on iPhone to be free to play and added like a bunch of ads and bullshit to it. That sucks. So that game was so clean, and so it was perfect, really. Yeah. in a lot of ways. So if they simply go and remaster the first game with new assets that are faithful to the original designs and make it look great running on new hardware, that sounds awesome. When I initially saw this and it was Plants vs. Zombies Reloaded, I thought, oh no, this is another Garden Warfare game. Not that those are bad. I actually think it's a cool idea and they played well. They just weren't for me. But because it's coming to iOS and Android, this tells me this will be some version of the original. We're just praying that it is a paid thing. The original Plants vs. Zombies was $4. I would spend $20, $30 maybe easy on this. Easy. And then just never have to worry about that. And it's a fantastic game. I'm pretty sure the Vita port was $30 or $40. Right? Yeah. And I was like, oh yeah, whatever. Fine. Whatever. It's worth it. Chris, are you a fan of PvZ?
I mean, I'm a fan of it in spirit. I've never really I've played a little bit of it, and I do like it. I get it. I appreciate it. But I think at the time that game came out, I just wasn't really into those kinds of games. But I always did like the premise and the art style of it. Because it reminded me of not necessarily the Behemoth, but that kind of it reminded me of old school Flash games. The fact that there's so much that's one of those few games where I feel just the influence of just the art, the artist is so strong, because that's a very specific design for a zombie, that's a very specific look to everything in that game. And so I think it's a beautiful game. I think it's clean. I think it's really simple. I think it's a great idea. I love the weirdness of it. But I can't pretend I've put more than I think I maybe put 4 hours into Plants vs. Zombies and in my entire life. But they were all good hours. It's just there was a mobile game kind of, you might remember this back then, but there was and in some ways there still is a stink on mobile games. Definitely. But even for good ones that I knew were good, I just kind of, there was something that just made me not want to play them.
Yeah, I agreed. I remember the one that people really pushed on me that I was I'm not fucking playing. It was that game, which I'm sure it was great. It was that game Monument Valley.
Oh, right, yeah.
But because me too, I was the same way. That's why I never even played Plants vs. Zombies until it came to console. I just wasn't. But at that point, it was already a couple of years old, and it was already a huge phenomenon, and I just didn't even pay any attention to it. So I also fell prey to that. If the games were imported, we were talking about that Vita game Sunflowers that made you hold the Vita sideways. That's a mobile game. The only reason it had any relevance with Vita players was because it came to Vita. Otherwise, I would have never seen it at all. So sometimes the platform just matters, and the accessibility of that matters. Yeah. I'm really amped about this, and I'm not so worried about it being the Garden Warfare stuff. Because I thought about that too. It's what is it? Because Garden Warfare is already playable on modern hardware, all three of them. So it's because the first one I think was PS3, but PS4 too, and then the second one PS4, the third one PS4. So PvZ, we're looking forward to being with you again. All those little cute little sunflowers doing their little dance. All right. And the crazy, what was the crazy, it was named Dave or something like that?
Yeah, the hillbilly guy.
Yeah.
He was cool.
All right. Hey, speaking of EA, I was amped to see this. This was reported on gamesindustry.biz. So College Football 26 is coming out next year. Obviously, we know College Football 25 was the best-selling game, I believe, of 2025 in the United States. And last year, you might recall that every player in the game, for the first time ever, so to back up, to give everyone context in case they forgot or they're just, not familiar. College football games kind of went away after 2012, 2013 for more than a decade. And during that time, back in the day, college football games were allowed to represent schools, and then players were referenced by number, but you couldn't have their likeness and you couldn't use their name. So you kind of had to read between the lines or whatever. And even that was kind of a newer development. And during the time the games went away because of licensing issues and all the rest, college football kind of came into its own as far as, the name, image, and likeness, NIL rights, and players being allowed to be paid sometimes millions of dollars legally now for the first time. It used to be that you were basically getting your collegiate education for free in return for your playing at those various schools. And a lot of people felt that was deeply unfair, including me. I thought that was deeply unfair too. And so a lot of that has changed. So, but that the world that college football came back into for College Football 25 was a world where the players could be in the game for the first time and they could profit from it. And each of them made $600 from the first game, which is nice, especially most of them are just never going to have no, aspirations to even play in the NFL. Nonetheless, are they going to get there? And this is maybe the only time they'll ever really make any real money on something. Well, anyway, giving you that setup, the Games Industry Up-Biz article cites The Athletic, the sports publication that's owned by the New York Times. And the pay has gone for all the players from $600 to $1,500 for College Football 26. And I just thought this was awesome. The game did extremely well. EA acknowledges that in their verbiage to The Athletic, that they kind of want to spread the wealth more, and this puts them on the hook for a lot more money. So they're going to pay $16.5 million in just those $1,500 payments. And that doesn't include the much more substantial money that like big players will get for being in the game. Because basically there are players that are big enough that could like hold out and kind of ruin the whole vibe. So they just give them a little bit more cover athletes, all sorts of special edition stuff or whatever. So players, they were saying, are actually going to make up to maybe hundreds of thousands of dollars, if they're a bigger player. So $16.5 million is no small chunk of change. And I think that's awesome. So wanted to congratulate the players and give kudos to EA. And hopefully that number just keeps going up, which I assume it will. The big thing that's missing from this equation that I think will enter the equation is union representation. The Games Industry Biz article notes that there is basically a union-like operation called Pathway that was representing hundreds of players in the NIL rights thing. And so that might become like a players association that will be able to get way, way more like Madden level money out of these things. So anyway, shout out to that. College Football 25 will come out, or College Football 26 rather will come out later this year. And a couple other quick stories too. This actually broke right after we published last week, so it's not very new. But publisher Focus Entertainment announced that, not surprisingly, Space Marine 3 is in development. So, of course, Space Marine 2 came out, and what was it, 2 years ago? No, it was last year. And people were astounded by this Saber-developed shooter. People really loved it. So they've greenlit another one. It's, of course, a Warhammer 40K game. I've not played any of them. The original was a THQ published game from 2010, 2011, 2012, somewhere in there on PS3. So there's that. And then the only other thing I wanted to acknowledge is this. Ross R. Lowe wrote in and said, "Hey, Sacred Trio. At GDC this week, a new union in the gaming industry was announced. The United Video Game Workers Communication Workers of America, or UVW-CWA, Local 9433. This union is primarily focused on helping counter the massive layoffs the industry has been facing these past few years and help nourish talent. Do you think this union will be successful in helping to protect jobs, or could this be too late to stem the tide? In an industry rife with abuse and uncertainty, hopefully this will help improve the gaming industry we all know and love. Thanks for all the great content." And I'll hang up and listen. I wanted to note, and you can go to, by the way, uvw-cwa.org if you want to read more about these guys. They have an FAQ, a mission statement, a way to sign up, reach out for more information. Hogue and I, as I noted earlier, sat down for a Sacred Symbols Plus episode that will go live tomorrow from when this goes live on Patreon, and we get very deep into this topic. So I would check that out. I don't know if you guys have anything you want to specifically add. I'll just put some high-level thoughts out there, I guess, which is that and Hogue made a really good point about this too, which is that this isn't it's the CWA is the Communication Workers of America is like an old union that originally represented like AT&T workers and shit. Mm-hmm. So they're established and they're getting a foothold in the video games, but this is not a union as it's really properly described because it has no collective bargaining power and hasn't been recognized. So, and it's international. It's both for American and Canadian developers. It's also multidisciplined. Basically anyone, including even like administrators that work at these companies or like facilities people, can join this union. So it's really more of an advocacy group. It asks for 1% of your annual income as a due, like a tithe, and which is not necessarily unreasonable for a real union, but it might be cart before the horse, and it might get stuck in an interesting cycle where it never garners enough support to become real and can never become real because it never garners enough support. And so I think it's in between a rock and a hard place. And I continue to think that the most effective way to unionize is to like go after disciplines and lock them down so that nothing can happen. It's what's kind of happening with voice actors, although they're making deals kind of on the side with the publishers as they need to. But if you like go after the animators and try to just unionize the animators and say like, you can't do anything without us, and that kind of thing spreads, I think that would actually be more effective. This is too dilutive, but people should listen to that episode of Sacred Symbols Plus if they want. Any thoughts do you want to share before we move on? No?
Not my area of expertise. So,
yeah, same.
I understand what a union is and how it works, but that's the extent of it.
I've never had to interact with one I've seen. The only thing I'll say is that I've seen firsthand, just through like osmosis and experience, how hell-bent companies are on just crushing these things. And that kind of almost, there's an inherent kind of like, I don't know if it's defiance or what, but like there's something inherently that makes me like, if a big corporation wants to shut these things down, like I'm kind of probably in favor of it. But I wouldn't necessarily make like broad claims about it because, again, yeah, it's not my area of expertise.
Yeah, I have no problems with private sector unions. I have problems with public sector unions because they can hold hostage serious taxpayer-funded things. And I say this is the son of a firefighter in New York City, so it's certainly a thing that's. But private unions, I have no problem with people organizing to get better pay, better treatment. In the private sector, like to me, I think that like workers, even skilled workers and games workers are skilled workers. Like they're just looked at as being so disposable that it's almost like dehumanizing in some sense, and you have to look out for yourselves as a collective sometimes. And so I've never been part of a union. I don't know that I would ever want to be part of a union. I never had the opportunity to. IGN's unionized now, but they weren't when I was there. That would have never happened when I was there. I can't even believe that did happen. But I have no problem with people following their conscience on that. And I am deeply skeptical of people in positions of power, corporations, people with lots of money. And so they need to be taken down a peg. And you're right, Chris, that there's a deep anti-labor hostility in the United States, which I understand in some sense because there are bad unions. There are bad private sector unions that I think are destructive towards, the UAW is one of the famous ones people talk about. Like, is it actually good or not? Like, is it actually doing, which is the United Auto Workers? Like, is it actually helping them or not? Or are the Japanese factories in Tennessee and Arkansas and stuff that are not unionized but are making more money, are they better off, even though they don't have union protections per se? And so I'm not saying like I'm like trying to fillet these people and like be all in on them.
No, I know what you mean.
But so I get why there's like a resistance to it. But happy labor, I think, goes a long way. It's why I really respect didn't Costco just announce that they're paying people like $35 an hour now or something? It's like something crazy where it's like
Costco's always been really good about that. Like people I know, like I've met people who worked at Costco and they love it. They love working at Costco, which is crazy. I would have never said in a million years that working at my retail job was like, oh yeah, I love working at Sears. Fuck no, absolutely not. I'm so glad they're bankrupt. Oh my God, brings me nothing but joy.
Yeah, it's funny, man. Like that just goes a long way to creating loyalty from your employees, and it seems like an almost trivial enterprise. It's like, oh, it's like a fucking warehouse, like a club warehouse, but it's like it doesn't matter. That's their business. They do it really well, and they have happy employees, and it costs money to do that, and they could pocket more money, but the operation's just better because everyone cares more. You probably want to keep your job there. You probably even operate on a little bit of level of fear of losing it because it's probably a great gig, and so you work hard,
Exactly. Well, that's kind of the thing. It's like this turn of phrase is always used for products, but it's never used for labor. I don't understand why, but it's like you get what you pay for. If you're paying me $7.25 an hour to show up to work, I'll show up to work and nothing else. Like I'm sleeping behind those TVs in the electronics section. I'm telling you. You pay me $35 to show up to work. Yes, sir. What do you want? What do we got to get done today?
Totally.
It's a completely different mindset, and of course, it should be obvious. I understand why it isn't, but
yeah, it definitely.
Whatever.
Yeah, everyone pretends like it's something. Pizza parties. All right.
Yeah.
I'm not opposed to a last stand pizza party, though.
Yeah, I mean that's
not in lieu of bonuses or anything. But if we ever wanted to do that, I mean,
yeah.
We've had some good company dinners.
Yeah, we have.
Certainly.
Yeah.
No doubt about it. All right, let's get into what we're playing. And I feel like we can probably go pretty quickly this week. I'll just go first. I'm still playing Tactics Ogre Reborn. I'm in the 4th chapter now. Let Us Cling Together. That's the last chapter in the game. So I'm getting near the end. It's funny how challenging the game becomes and how you really have to wrap your mind around advancing, especially with the level cap, because you can't grind levels in the game and make yourself stronger. So you really have to figure things out. A lot of times you're like bum rushing the leader to like kill them, because if you kill them, the battle's over and stuff, and you're taking losses. But it's a really cool game. I think there are some fundamental problems with it that keep it from being a Final Fantasy Tactics level, or even like a early front mission level, like these really great turn-based role-playing games, grid-based tactical role-playing games. But it's great, and I recommend it. I'm enjoying it. I should be done in the next few days. I don't know. The cool thing about this new version is there are different paths through the game, and this game allows you to just go back to all the choices and make different choices and then continue from there. So it's just much easier to see everything. So I might do that, but probably not. This past weekend, I also just, on Saturday night, I just re-downloaded Astrobot, and I played through the Winter Wonderland DLC that came out over Christmas, which I never did. So it was the thematic stuff was a little lost on me. And then I played all 5 stages of the Vicious Void DLC, which is the second DLC pack that they've released, like the second Galaxy, DLC Galaxy, free. And so Winter Wonderland took me about an hour to do. It's pretty robust, actually. So I was surprised. There's like a lot to do there. It's like you have to find different presents by doing these different tasks. And then you get different like costumes and controller skins and a few new Astrobot little characters. And it's really cute, really, really nicely done. And so I spent about an hour just dicking around and doing all of that. And then I spent about another hour with the Vicious Void DLC, just getting through the stages. I felt like the first 2 stages, and maybe it's just because I was a little rusty, although I wasn't that rusty because I had just played Winter Wonderland, I felt like the first 2 are really hard and took quite a bit of effort, maybe 10 or 15 tries for each of them or more. And then the last 3 I thought were easy. I did one of them in one try, which is unusual because they're time trial, pretty difficult stages. But they're fun. Yeah. I really applaud Asobi for doing all this, and I think it's awesome how much they've supported it. However, I also think it's time to move on now. Like, work on it in earnest on a sequel and show us what you got, because I think that for as awesome as Astrobot is, few nips and tucks, and I think an Astrobot sequel could be fucking crazy. And I'm really, really excited about what they can do with a little bit more budget, a little, don't get crazy with it. 60 people in 3 years made the first one. What could 3 years but 80 or 100 people do? I think that would be really exciting. Maybe a PS6 launch game. Be interesting. So yeah, that's what I spent time playing. And I'm still waiting for Atomfall. I mean, that's the next big, the Rebellion game, the next big, in quote unquote, big release. And I was reading previews for it, and it's being referred to as like an old Fallout-ish, like Fallout 3-ish type game, which I'm like, sounds great with some crafting mechanics and all the rest, but that's just the way it goes. I think it looks really fun. So that's what I'll be playing soon. All right, Chris, let's go over to you. It says you're playing Wipeout Omega Collection. Very interesting.
Yeah, so I don't know. I was still kind of, last week I was playing Power Wash Simulator and played a couple stages of that. I'm still kind of playing that on and off, but I'm still kind of in this mode where I just kind of want to play. I don't know. I'm in like a turn my brain off kind of mood lately, where I don't know if I necessarily want to. I don't want to pay attention to a story right now. I don't want to do puzzles or anything. I just want like a pure gameplay experience. And I was just kind of going through my backlog, and I was like, oh yeah, I tried the Wipeout Omega Collection when it launched, but maybe I can't remember if it was on PS Plus or not. I feel like it was. It seems like a game that would be.
I can look.
But I can't remember if it was launched or if it was when it was on PS Plus or whatever. But I tried it back in the day, and the first game that game puts in front of you is Wipeout 2048, I believe, which was the one that came out in 2012, if I'm not mistaken. I'm pretty sure that was like a later entry. And I remember just kind of not feeling it because it didn't remind me of the Wipeout that I remember playing when I was younger. It didn't remind me of Wipeout Pure, which was like the big PSP game that I really want. When Wipeout Pure shows up in the classics, I'm going to be so excited because I loved the ever-loving shit I had to wipe out Pure. Or not Wipeout Pure. Wipeout Pure. I was thinking of Pure, the ATV game.
Yeah.
I think. Got the mix up in my head. That was also a great game, but yeah. And I tried 2048 at first, and I just kind of put it down because I was like, I don't know, this doesn't feel right to me. Like the camera's a little bit too low. Like the it's a little bit noisy because it's like there's a lot more polish on it, and so like there was something about it that just didn't register to me, and I put it down, and I was like, well, I like Wipeout, and I want to get. I want to play something, and this is like really the best pure gameplay experience that I can find in my backlog. So I jumped into it, and I switched games into Wipeout HD, which I believe originally was 2008, which I had never played. I had only played Wipeout Pure, and like I think one on the PS1 back in the day. And I was like, oh, this is what I remember. This is what I'm into. This is like the format, the exact way the camera was, the look of everything. There's enough polish on it where it looks modern and clean, but it also looks like very readable. There's not a lot of like lens flares or anything. I was like, okay, so this is good. So I've been going through a lot of just Wipeout HD stages and really just digging my time with it. I really, there's something about these games where like it's a vibe, dude. Like it's fast, it's frenetic, it's simple, it's clean, it's sleek.
It's 90s.
Like the ship design. Yeah, like it's just like
it's very 90s.
Like this. I love the ship designs like so much. There's something about them that I really, really adore. I adore the visual language of Wipeout and the ships that they use in it. And even just like the menus and like they're so stylized, but they're functional. There's a lot of UI in video games that feel like style over function, or looks over substance. And I feel like the Wipeout UI, I remember even back in Wipeout Pure on the PSP, but in this one too, it feels like in universe, and it feels like you're interacting with like a computer like from the future, even still to this day. Like it feels so cool to interact with it, and it's clean, and it's like you know what you're doing. It's not confusing. It's really good stuff. So I'm really enjoying my time with the Wipeout collection. I'm playing it on my Steam Deck through remote play a lot in bed, just like to wind the day down with some high octane future racing, I guess, because that's how my brain works. But it's very good. Like I genuinely recommend it. I do think the first game that it puts in front of you, which is 2048, is kind of, I mean, I guess it's up to whoever. It depends on taste, I guess. But like it turned me off initially. And if maybe other people in the audience might have had that experience too, where it's like, oh, they don't remember Wipeout feeling this way or looking this way. Maybe move on. Like Wipeout HD, and I believe HD Fury is in there as well. Crazy that Pure is not in there.
By the way, the Wipeout Omega Collection was on PlayStation Plus in August of 2019.
Okay, so that's probably when that sounds about right. But yeah, I recommend, dude. It's so good. But I love these games. I love racers, and we're gonna talk about a racer later on. But it's good stuff. Wipeout HD in particular is some chef's kiss stuff. I want Pure though. This is not an excuse to not do Pure. Get Pure on PlayStation Now, like please, and not PlayStation Now the service. PlayStation comma now.
Now, right? Lowercase now.
Lowercase now.
Yeah. Wipeout to me in a lot of ways is the original PlayStation IP, because it comes from the studio that the only studio that they purchased to create a Sony family of studios in Psygnosis. And there's something so deeply 90s about Wipeout to me and so affixed to the original PS1, and obviously it goes to PS2 and to PS3 and to PSP and to Vita, but and Liverpool goes away ultimately, unfortunately. But I wonder if there's anything worth revisiting with the series, because it's so fast, and consoles now are so technical that I feel like you can make something truly beautiful. And the games always were really pretty, in my opinion, like for what they were. Right. And they're way, way too fucking fast for me. Like I was so paralyzed by how fast the games were.
It's so sick. I love speed. It was my main issue with like Mario Kart. It was just like this was like the big racer for like everybody's like, oh, we're at a party, let's play Mario Kart. And you play and you just feel like you're moving through fucking molasses. I just never understood it. I was just like, there's no sense of speed here at all. What's going on? And then you play something like Wipeout and you're like, okay, this is crazy. but it's aesthetically pleasing. The soundtracks are so good. I don't know who is responsible for these things, but like it's good stuff. But yeah, so that's what I've been playing. I'm kind of working my way back up to playing something a little bit more more intense. I do think the next thing I jump into is going to be Death Stranding again. It's been staring at me, and I've been kind of like longingly, like wistfully looking at it, like, oh, maybe, but like, do I have time? Like, will I? I think this next week I'm probably just gonna bite the bullet and jump in.
Do it.
Although I do have I should have said this at the top of the show, so I don't know. Whatever. I have this weekend we're having a bachelor party in Vegas for a friend of mine who's getting married next month. So the next 4 days is probably not going to be good Death Stranding time.
Yeah.
But hopefully, like, by the time I'm back, I'll start it up again, because I am itching to play Death Stranding again.
Well,
I just want to get it over with.
Be safe.
Yeah.
All right, Dustin, Split Fiction. Talk to me about it.
Yeah. So I'm still playing a lot of the other games I've already talked about, like still playing Monster Hunter, still playing Phoenix Wright, still playing Repo. But the one I really want to talk about was Split Fiction, because I did complete it since I was last on the show, and it's good. It's really good, actually. I think I mentioned I was playing it with Holly. We played It Takes Two together, so naturally we wanted to play this together. And I think the main thing that I like about it is that it feels more like a real video game than It Takes Two, which, don't get me wrong, It Takes Two, awesome. And very much, a real video game. But you know what I'm saying? I think that's to its benefit and its detriment, in that some of the parts were pretty challenging for Holly. Not that she's not a real gamer or anything, but she doesn't really play platformers or things like that. And there is a lot of different platforming elements. And the main thing I want to talk about is that the last level of this game, I will not spoil anything about it, talk about it's the things it does, but the last level of this game is so fucking cool and creative, and it's so fun to play. This last level is one of the coolest levels I've ever played in any video game ever, I would say. The whole game is worth playing, but there is part of me that's like, man, you gotta at least play it so you can play this last level that is so incredibly cool. I think that overall, I'm not as hot on it as a lot of the reviews and other people that were, giving it 9s and 10s out of 10s. The biggest complaint I have about the game is just that the dialogue is cringy and often annoying. I was talking on Punching Up with Brad and Micah that there's just so many times where the concept of the story is that the one girl writes science fiction and the other girl writes fantasy. And so when they're each in each other's worlds, all they're doing is complaining. Like, oh, it's a dragon. Oh, why is there so much violence in the sci-fi world? I can't believe what's going on. And it gets old and annoying. There's a lot of that kind of like Marvel kind of cringy millennial, like, well, I can't believe I'm actually doing this right now. How is this possible? And it's like,
whoa,
yeah,
whoa, I'm flying.
There's parts too where, like there's a part in a boss fight where, like a machine gun materializes that you're going to fight the boss. And the one girl's like, locked and loaded. And it's like, it just doesn't fit. And maybe that's the point.
Sounds a little corny.
It is definitely corny at points. Some parts of the story are very touching and really well done as well. So it's a bit of a mixed bag in that department for me. But despite those shortcomings and me thinking it's not as good as everyone else thinks, I still think it is excellent and people should absolutely play it, especially that last level. Really well done. Holly really liked it as well, other than the points that she got frustrated. So yeah, now that this team, obviously It Takes Two, huge success. And now this game selling millions of copies very quickly. I'd imagine that they kind of can just do whatever they want with whatever budget, within reason, of course. But so I'm curious about what Hazelight is doing next, and just curious what they're going to do now that they have even more money and success riding off this game.
Yeah, I really got to play it. It's sitting there. It's sitting in my library, but it needs another person, so it's just really tricky to organize that stuff. But I've heard a lot about that last level too. And like when no one, everybody insists on not telling me anything about it, which I appreciate. But like, damn, I'm like, I feel like the clock is on to just like beat this thing before I have it spoiled.
Yeah. It does things. Obviously, these games are co-op games through and through, and it uses co-op in a unique way. All of the Hazelight games, whether it's It Takes Two or A Way Out, stuff like that. But this really amps it up like significantly. Very, very cool.
All right, my friends, let's get into the news. There are 5 items this week. One of them I'm excited to share with you. It'll be exclusive, and it's number 1. A few weeks ago, on episode 348, we discussed in depth the slow and steady erosion of Warner Brothers' gaming empire, most recently accelerated by the closure of a trio of studios and the cancellation of some in-development games. One major mystery in the entire ordeal was the fate of perhaps the least known of the dev teams affected by layoffs and cancellations, WB San Diego. On that episode, I postulated that the studio, founded back in 2019, was perhaps an internal support team contracted to other projects within the publisher family, but that wasn't the case at all. After we published, someone once associated with WB San Diego reached out to talk about the team and its unannounced project. After exchanging emails with this person and verifying their identity, we spoke via video for about 45 minutes where much was shared with me. And the following is in turn what I can share with you. WB San Diego was deep in development on a kart racer, which was codenamed Moonlight, but which also went by a duo of potentially final titles, WB Racers and XDR, or Cross Drift Racers. Like now defunct studio Player First's work on Multiverses, Project Moonlight's roster of kart drivers would come from Warner's wide array of IP, including Adventure Time, Tom and Jerry, Scooby-Doo, and more. I saw footage of the game running and can safely say this title was heavily inspired by Mario Kart, a drift racer running on Unreal Engine 5 with stylized graphics and fine vehicle control. The game was originally conceived very early in the life of WB San Diego, and according to the source, there was very little intention and a lack of coherent approach throughout development. For instance, it began life as a free-to-play, online-only multiplayer racer that would support PlayStation, Xbox, Switch, and even mobile. However, towards the end of its development, the Switch and mobile platforms were dropped completely, and a PC iteration was greenlit. Then the remaining console versions were put on ice so that all energies could be put into a PC-only release, with the hope that if the game was successful there, they could get back to the console ports. The monetization model was also changed late in development, going from free-to-play back to a paid-for title, which would be first available to purchase via Steam Early Access. Greenlit early during the pandemic and with a core of gameplay that was described as rock solid, the source nonetheless noted that development was fairly rudderless, with little oversight from the outside, a high burn rate in Southern California employing well over 100 people, and a development cycle that really started to come apart this past fall. One last thing the source told me is that there is quite a bit of animosity internally with people who worked on the game, who felt that it was profoundly unfair that their sister team, Player First, got to launch Multiverses twice, while they never got a shot to launch at all after all of that work. So, just a little interesting tidbit. Not a huge story by any stretch of the imagination. But any thoughts to share?
I think that for my personal taste, a kart racer is much more interesting than a Smash Brothers clone, and hits that part of my brain of absurdity where I think we were joking about how it's like, I don't like Arya Stark in the Smash Bros clone is not that exciting or whatever, but to have Arya Stark in a kart racing against Tom and Jerry, now that's sounding a little appealing. And there's just not, there are a decent amount of kart racers. Obviously, Mario Kart is super dominant. And that's why we talked about when that Sonic Racing sequel got announced a few weeks ago. I was like, maybe I need to put down my Sonic prejudice because I do love kart racers and this looks like a good one.
Yeah.
And so I think this idea sounds pretty cool. Not something that I'm going to go nuts for, but it's a little interesting that they're the strategy where they shifted to a PC only release. that shouts DOA for me, where not that, I mean, there's tons of PC gamers, obviously, but a kart racing game that needs to be on a couch. Like that's where, you and a few buddies go sit down, relax, have a few beers, play a game like that. It's very much, I mean, it can be a single player game, but it's also a party game that you want to play locally with your friends. So that sounds a little weird to me, but it's disappointing. I think it's cool, Colin, that you got to see what it looks like, just because it sounds really neat in concept.
Yeah, it's I guess like it was heavily inspired by Mario Kart. I'm just looking at some of my notes here because I was writing as I was talking to this person. And yeah, so Chris, Unreal Engine 5, drift racing, kart racer called, project codenamed Moonlight, maybe would be called WB Racers, maybe be called XDR. What are your thoughts?
Yeah, definitely maybe workshop that name. But I think, I'm very much with that. Well, first of all, I'm a huge fan of kart racers. I love these things. I think Crash Team Racing is genuinely in like my top 5 games of all time. I love that game dearly. Like there's the sense of speed and the sheer cleverness and design in that game is really masterful. And I was a big fan of Double Dash back in the day and Diddy Kong Racing, and I've heard very, very good things about those Sonic games that I refuse to play. But yeah, I just haven't gotten around to it. Like All-Star Racing something, I think is what they're called, or there's like a very specific Sonic Racing IP that apparently is very good. But yeah, it's weird because I feel like this is actually a better idea than multiverses.
Yeah.
Like it strikes me as something like, yeah, why not do something like this where it's so absurd that it kind of becomes okay? Like I feel like there's something about a Smash Brothers clone, like Warner Brothers, like Arya Stark fighting, that for some reason feels less out there than her in a cart. And I think because it feels less out there, people are less willing to really jump on it. I don't know. There's something there to what Dustin was saying about like just people's willingness to buy into something based on the level of the absurdity of it. And I think like, yeah, you could have the idea of like a Game of Thrones style, like old wagon and like a kart racer is like, that's so good. And there's so many different styles that you could like really take advantage of. Like every car could really be like unique and different. And it's a shame that something like this doesn't exist, because I do feel like it's like stealth games where it's just like, it just feels like this is a really good genre, and it's not as big as it's not as big as other things. And I think because it's not as big, it doesn't really get a fair shot, or it doesn't get a lot of, eyes in both in the market and in just like the pre-green lighting phase. But I love this idea like way more. I'm way more into this than I was into multiverses, to the effect that I was into multiverses at all, which is out of sheer curiosity. Like this, I probably would have genuinely been amped about. So it is a shame.
Yeah, it's from my discussion with the source, it sounds like Warner is as disorganized and rudderless as it seems. That it's about chasing trends. Right. And, I'm just doing, this doesn't come from any source, but just doing the math and thinking about like when you're changing things behind the scenes, like going from different platforms, different monetization, like this breaks the entire like risk analysis of doing the project to begin with. You're starting to fuck with like where it's going to go, like the timeline in which it's going to go, how it's going to be paid for. And at the very beginning of the project, you're doing, a lot of math to try to figure out if these things are justified or not. And you get lost kind of in the weeds when you start doing that sort of thing. And then it necessitates pulling the plug before it launches so you can write it down. It's an interesting situation. So yeah, this WB San Diego studio racing game, Project Moonlight, will never see the light of day, I assume. But RIP in peace. And our very best to everyone that was laid off at WB San Diego. Very sad situation. And yeah, the idea that multiverses basically got to go twice and they never got to go at all is something that I think sticks in some people's craw. Yeah, which is interesting too. Okay. Big news here. This would have been the big news of the week otherwise, if we didn't have that little exclusive. Was now number 2. Listeners of this show will already know well that Sony has had a secret team in Los Angeles working on a future PlayStation exclusive for well over a year. They've simply never acknowledged this team's existence, at least until now, when the founder and leader of the team, Jason Blundell, let loose on a podcast the big secret. The team is called Dark Outlaw Games, and in an interview with former Giant Bomb host Jeff Gersman, Blundell said the following in part, quote, "I've had the amazing opportunity to create a new studio within PlayStation Studios for Sony. The studio is called Dark Outlaw. And so Dark Outlaw Games have been working away in the shadows for a while, and when we've got something to talk about, we'll step out into the light. But the story for me is about the game, not about the studio. So the reason why we're not doing any fanfare or shouting about it from the rooftops is like, let's get something right. And it's such a privilege to be able to do it with Sony as a new first-party studio. Sony doesn't really set up first-party studios all the time. So to have that privilege is humbling. It's really nice. I'm really excited. We're currently staffing up, keeping it kind of low-key. Been going for a little bit of time now," end quote. Now, you may recall what we've discussed on the show in the past, that Blundell and a small group of others let fly over LinkedIn in the past year or so that they've been working with PlayStation on something new in secret. And many of the employees, including Blundell himself, seem to come from now defunct team Deviation. This is relevant because Deviation, along with now first-party team Haven and their game Fair Games, and now closed first-party team Firewalk of Concord fame, were the trio of studios Sony revealed it was working with in the period of 2021 and 2022. While the Firewalk and Haven deals turned from second to first party, and with Concord failing spectacularly while we wait on what happens with Fair Games, the Deviation project never got very far, and as we broke when it happened in 2022, Sony canceled its game with Deviation. But it's clear there's more to the story, and it's entirely within the realm of possibility that Dark Outlaw is working on an iteration of what Deviation was, which Sony would have owned regardless of who was making it. Likewise, it's important to recall that Blundell himself is a co-founder of Deviation, which could very well signal a power struggle behind the scenes that ultimately concluded with Blundell and a spin-off team carrying the torch in Deviation's stead. Blundell, as you may recall, was once one of the leads at Activision's Call of Duty team Treyarch, where he was the executive producer of 2010's Call of Duty Black Ops and 2012's Call of Duty Black Ops 2, the latter directing the campaign as well. He directed and produced 2015's Call of Duty Black Ops 3 as well, and oversaw the development of 2018's Call of Duty Black Ops 4's Zombies mode as well, with the Zombies mode in particular often credited to him. Unfortunately, we have little else to work with for the time being, other than a LinkedIn page for the company that lists an employee headcount of 11 to 50 people. Indeed, of the 10 people on LinkedIn that have Dark Outlaw as their place of employment as of the time of recording, 8 of them worked for Deviation. This includes Deviation's senior software engineer, Emmanuel Flores, who now has the role of senior engineer at Dark Outlaw, Deviation's design director, Fred Thompson, who is now Dark Outlaw's principal game designer, animation director, Adam Rojas, who was Deviation's animation director, and before that, longtime lead animator at Treyarch on the Black Ops games. Junior game designer JC Farmer, who was once Deviation's community manager. Animator Mylene Dondis, who was likewise once an animator at both Deviation and Treyarch. And Sony producer CJ and senior producer CJ Conoy, who was a longtime producer at Treyarch and was also the same at Deviation. There are also 2 interesting additions to the team that didn't come from Deviation but did work at Treyarch. Treyarch's longtime art director, Sean Bell, who is now Dark Outlaw's art director, and longtime Treyarch senior producer, Pat Dwyer, who is now Dark Outlaw's production director. Interesting. Colin sucking on Chris's colon while Dustin watches wrote in and said, "What do you guys think of Dark Outlaw Studios, Sony's new first-party team? Personally, the name sounds like a 2009 XBL gamer tag I had in high school. I'm just hoping the team is used properly, possibly to funnel a live service. The name sounds fitting. Love you guys, and stop eating that chicken's colon. Stop obsessing over colons."
Yeah.
Thank you for writing in.
Psychotic.
Incredible. Chris, we have a new first party team. We've been sounding the alarm that this team has existed since 2023. And if you go to LinkedIn, and I did all that little research to kind of figure out who's who last night, I was just clicking around and taking notes. And a lot of them have it listed as summer 2023 is when they started. So this studio has been bubbling for a while. I assume they might even be working on something for PS6. I don't know that. Maybe they're working on something more imminent. We'll see. So I'm curious what your thoughts are on what seems to be a splinter of Deviation. That's why I was saying, I mean, it's speculation, but the entire idea that there was something behind the scenes that wasn't going right there, and they just took a bunch of them. And frankly, that's what they're doing to Bungie now. Yeah. So what are your thoughts?
I don't know. I mean, it is kind of just a confirmation of something that we kind of knew in the background a little bit. I guess we have the name now, which, it's a name.
Yeah, it's not good. I mean, I didn't know if we wanted to get into it yet, but it's a bad name. Maybe we get used to it. And it's like, oh, it's Dark Outlaw or whatever, but it's not. It's a bad. It's not a good name.
It feels like ran into some dark outlaws.
Yeah.
It
just feels. Well, there goes that dark outlaw again. Sounds vaguely racist, but I think it just kind of sounds like it's trying to be cool, which like inevitably will just kind of come off as just not. But I mean, it's just the name. Like, who cares ultimately? Like, it's really surface level. But I think you can kind of glean, I guess, something from the talent that they're taking. Like, it is a lot of Treyarch, obviously X Deviation. Is this I would imagine you can. Okay, so you can tell a couple of things. Like, obviously, this isn't going to be a live service game in all likelihood, because that umbrella seems to have been either tightened very deeply or shut down entirely. Like, they're probably working on, I would imagine, something a little bit more traditional as opposed to something a little bit more outside the box, especially after all of these like studio closures and all this. I feel like they want to keep it maybe close to the vest, maybe be a little bit less adventurous in realms that they might not understand entirely. And they've already got studios kind of doing that anyway. So you can glean that maybe a shooter potentially, although I
presumably
think
I would say, right?
I mean that's what I would assume, but
FPS.
Yeah, you have to assume just based on the talent that's coming and like where they come from that like you would want them to make some kind of shooter. But like I wonder like I wonder how Sony even feels about that, given all of their attempts at shooters seem to just not work that well. And it seems like, in fact, when they do try to do a shooter, whenever they deviate from doing a shooter is when the studio making the shooter actually hits its stride. It's like Guerrilla with Killzone. And it's like Killzone did fine, and then they hit Horizon, which is like the big, the new big thing that every that they're really heavily supporting. And even with something like Resistance was far less greater than some of the stuff that would come later. So like I think, I don't know, I wonder if they're even really hungry to build shooters in-house when they know that they can really just kind of rely on the broader industry to do that in some sense. Even Microsoft, now that they're not really a prime competitor. But my assumption right now is that they're probably making a shooter, probably not live service, but it's still pretty early. We have no real information to go on outside of the name and some of the talent.
When you say not live service, what do you mean that it wouldn't be multiplayer?
No, well, that's kind of the thing. It's like, what? Like, I don't know why you would, in some sense, because they seem to have tried this over and over again. And like, I guess I'm just looking at it from a Concord perspective, right? Like, are they shy because of Concord now? And granted, this has been spooling up for a while, but I just wonder if, I'll put it this way, if they weren't happy with The Last of Us's multiplayer mode, like, why would they feel comfortable making a first-person shooter, like a multiplayer first-person shooter that's meant to compete with like some of the biggest games of all time? You know what I mean? Like,
yeah, that's fair enough.
I don't know. It could be, and it very well might be. But like, I would be curious to see that evolve into. Or I would be curious to see that.
I mean, that's totally fair, because part of me is like, well, it obviously has to be a first-person shooter live service game, but then part of me. But you're totally right. Like, you're like, the more you talk about it, your analysis is actually quite spot on. It's like, well, why would you just do this again? I mean, again, thinking that, like we've said, and I think we all agree, like, I think they should pursue these games. They should just do it without their own assets and see what works. And you come up with the Helldivers every so often that works. And maybe the internal stuff you want to shepherd a little bit more, but maybe they just feel like they have a really big talent with Blundell, especially as a zombies designer and all of the rest. And
yeah,
it would be part of me is like, it would be almost impossible to believe that it's not live service. And then part of me is like, no, but the analysis of it saying like it's you just canceled all those games. Like,
yeah, I'm very in the middle with it.
Yeah, I don't know.
I'm very in the middle with it, where like I think there's a reality where like obviously like you acquire this talent for a reason, and that is they make multiplayer shooters, and specifically multiplayer experience with multiplayer shooter experiences with Jason Blundell obviously being credited with like zombies and all that stuff. Like, you clearly want this level of maybe multiplayer, but maybe they even look at Helldivers and even zombies, which is cooperative, and maybe they see something there. Maybe you're looking at something more akin to Left 4 Dead than Call of Duty, for instance. But And I think there actually is like a deep market for that. Like I do think you could make a lot of money doing, co-op oriented multiplayer. Like in fact, like that seems to be the big wave on PC right now, with not necessarily with combat oriented games, but like Repo and Lethal Company and all of these games that seem to be built on just cooperating with your friends and having a good time. Like I don't know if that's necessarily a wave that would be broadly successful in the sense that you could really adapt that to AAA, but I do think it's something that people in AAA space would be unwise to not pay attention to and see like there's something here that people do like, and if we can maybe capture that in some kind of way, like I don't know, this is all speculation, I guess, but I'm really in the middle of it, like where it could be a live service first person shooter. It very well could be. That's why that talent is there. But at the same time, I just wonder how skittish they would be in trying to do something like that so soon after their biggest failure of all time.
What do you think, Dustin? Well, actually, we have a letter from Robert F. Frimmering. It says, "Greetings, sacred ones. Is Jason Blundell being cheeky when talking about stepping out of the shadows? Could this be a new stealth game? I don't see a new studio bringing back Siphon Filter, but a new IP with stealth could be amazing." Yeah, I don't know that there's anything cheeky about it. But what do you think? What could they be working on? What do you think about the name Dark Outlaw?
Yeah, the name is, like you guys were saying, it's not great, but ultimately doesn't really matter. As far as what kind of game they're making, I'm hearing both sides of the argument. My gut tells me that it's like, man, you have a lot of the talent that made really good Call of Duty games, and your competitor now owns Call of Duty, and you're trying to get into live service. So that all kind of points to making a game that is a Call of Duty competitor. And honestly, I kind of feel like now is the best time to do it, where even with a game like Black Ops 6, where people were really hot on it, the community in a lot of ways, and this is anecdotal just from me, I haven't played it in months, but has kind of turned on the game in a lot of ways. And so it really feels like there could be an opportunity for another player to step into the ring, and you have the team to potentially do something like that. I wonder if it could be I don't want to say live service light, but kind of a more traditional game where maybe it has a campaign and a co-op zombies type mode and a multiplayer suite. That would be pretty cool. And then the live service elements are like you add new modes to multiplayer, new maps, certainly some kind of skin, microtransactions, things like that. You could kind of have a little bit of everything. Obviously, Call of Duty takes thousands of people to make, but maybe there's an opportunity to make a similar style game with a smaller team, or at least now starting the groundwork and then expanding from there. What I find interesting about this story is how this first party PlayStation studio is kind of keeping it super low key. And when you look at the history of what's happened with Jason Blundell, I can kind of maybe understand why. They announced the partnership with Deviation Games on the PlayStation blog, but also think back to when they had him and another guy on stage with Jeff Keighley at the Summer Game Fest to announce this partnership with literally nothing. They're just like, hey, we're doing this. Please be excited. And I remember us thinking like, okay, cool, but weird thing to put on stage. And
yeah.
And even looking at this blog post, which is from the once CEO of Deviation Games, Dave Anthony, they're asking, like, what kind of game are we making? How long have we been working on it? Is it story-based, multiplayer, co-op, all the above? When is it coming out? I can confirm development is underway. And then he literally says nothing about the game. So this blog post has nothing about it. So there may be this thought process of like, yeah, we really jumped the gun talking about Deviation, and then it kind of blew up in our face. Let's just chill. Let's get something built up. And instead, when we're really ready to come out, we'll have a game that we can show people, and it won't just feel like, vaporware, really, which is what they originally had. So that's kind of interesting that this new PlayStation studio is now finally, as you mentioned, we already knew about it to some degree, but soft announced just casually on a podcast.
Yeah, it's I've said in the past that I don't think Naughty Dog's a good name. It's just that it's Naughty Dog. Like,
yeah,
I think Dark Outlaw could just become part of the vernacular if they make good stuff, and it will be, like you said, totally irrelevant what the name is. Also, I'm not a great judge of names. I thought the Nintendo Switch was the stupidest thing I'd ever heard in my life. So, what do I know?
Yeah, I thought the Wii was
Switch.
I thought the Wii was stupid, especially well, which it is. I don't think there's any real. Never mind. Actually, now that I say it, especially when we all thought it was going to be the Nintendo Revolution, which I remember being like so excited about. We're like, ooh, what's this going to be? And then they were like, actually, it's a Wii. And I immediately felt stupid for being excited.
I once heard that Revolution would be too hard for Japanese people to say.
I heard that too.
I don't know if it's true, but it's funny, so I'm going to believe it.
That would be very funny. I could see that being very true.
That rules. That is, in my own mind, that's definitely what happened.
I'm not going to look it up.
No, don't look it up.
No, we're a podcast. We just say things. We let you look it up.
Yeah, you do the work. All right, this next one is interesting, kind of floating under the radar, I feel like.
Yeah.
Number 3. One-time prominent Polish developer People Can Fly made a rather random announcement just days ago when they revealed that the team is working on a PlayStation game as a Sony second party. Word comes by way of a Polish language filing, which was translated by a user on the gaming forum NeoGAF. The filing notes that People Can Fly have entered into a production agreement with Sony on a video game project codenamed Delta, quote, based on intellectual property rights belonging to the publisher, end quote. In other words, Sony owns whatever they're working on, which could indicate that People Can Fly is toiling away on a revival of some kind. The rest of the document is fairly mundane, discussing the work-for-hire model the deal exists within, that there are milestones to be met, and so on. So now all that's left to do is speculate as to what this project is. It could be something new, something that Sony will simply file the trademark for the IP at some point down the road, but the language of the document indicates it's something from the past. If one thing is for sure, it's People Can Fly's pedigree, which is shooters, specifically FPS, though they've made third-person fare too. People Can Fly's first game, the 2004 PC title Painkiller, was an FPS, though it never came to PlayStation. Its second AAA game most certainly did, though, in the form of 2011's Bulletstorm, followed by co-development of 2013's Xbox 360 third-person shooter Gears of War Judgment, which it made alongside Epic. By 2021, the team would release third-person shooter Outriders, which is fucking awesome, with publisher Square Enix. And in 2022 and 2024, respectively, they launched 2 VR games in the form of Green Hell and Bulletstorm. They're currently working on a game codenamed Project Gemini with Square Enix as well, rumored to be a follow-up to Outriders, which is due out in 2026, while they're also co-developing the upcoming Gears of War game E-Day alongside Xbox team The Coalition. Thus, whatever People Can Fly is working on is almost certainly a shooter. Assuming it's something from the past, this really only leaves 3 logical choices as to what it could be. Killzone, Resistance, or SOCOM. KB wrote in and said, hey, gents, People Can Fly just announced that they partnered with SIE on a new video game codenamed Project Delta, which is based on an existing IP. Given their extensive history with shooters, particularly those featuring rich and diverse weapon sets, and their current co-development of Gears of War E-Day with the Coalition alongside their work on Bulletstorm, Outriders, and Gears of War Judgment, could Project Delta be a new Resistance game? After all, Delta represents 4 in Greek. Could this hint at Resistance 4? What say you? Thanks. I wonder. Again, Killzone comes to mind for me more than Resistance, but I only feel that way because they're European, so that really doesn't make any sense. I don't really know, man. The language says that it's an IP owned by Sony, but I still feel like it's not totally clear what they mean by that. Is it a new filing or is it something that exists already? I don't know. Dustin, give me 20 to 25 minutes on this.
Yeah. Killzone, Resistance, SOCOM. Well, someone brought up earlier Siphon Filter. So maybe that could be in the mix as well, but less likely
God, I
than
hope
those
not.
3.
Come on. Yeah, I hope. Yeah, the other 3 are much. And really, Killzone or Resistance is what I want.
Yeah.
I'll take one. That's fine.
I think from a marketing standpoint, Killzone is probably the ticket there, where seeing even just the response to the Killzone skins in Helldivers was pretty positive. So it used to be such a big mainstay of PlayStation. So that would be cool. But I think I'm in the same boat as you, Colin, where I just kind of, so it's vague. So it's hard to say, like, could it be a Sony movie property or something else? Could it be a spin-off that's not even a shooter at all? It's hard to say.
I do like what he said. Like, I never considered this until I saw his note from patreon.com/laststandmedia, where Delta represents 4 in Greek. It's true. Alpha, Beta, Gamma, Delta. But you could, and I don't know, you could argue it could be Killzone 4 as well, because Shadowfall is not titled Killzone 4. It's not really, it's in the same continuity, I guess, so it doesn't really matter. It's just mincing words. But I think that's an interesting note, that it could be Resistance. But if it's Resistance, I really think that if you either go back to Resistance or Killzone, you just reboot them. Right. I don't think there's Resistance 3 kind of ends. Unfortunately, it's as I've reported many times, it was supposed to have a different ending. Killzone, Killzone's story is not even that important to people. Like, I think you can do it better and do it again. So I think either choice, if it's one of those, and we've been talking about them so much recently, I just think you do them again. What do you think, Chris, about this deal?
I'm going to go ahead and will Resistance into existence again. I'm so sick of seeing Insomniac tweet for years about this. Oh, here, look at this Chimera. Isn't this cool?
Yeah.
Like, yeah, it is. it's really cool, that thing you posted there. So I'm going to, I don't know. I don't know what this could be. My gut tells me it's something that it's like almost like a spin-off of something that you wouldn't expect. Not necessarily this, but something along this lines. It's like, what if it's like like an arcadey PvP Ratchet and Clank where you're just shooting at each other. You know what I mean? Like, almost something like you're not really thinking about in the sense of like, oh, that's clearly a shooter. But in the event that it is obvious and Delta is some kind of hint, I would hope that it's Resistance, because I just feel like there's more meat on Resistance. I feel like Killzone is just very like whatever to people. I think the positive reaction to Killzone in Helldivers is really more about just how well those things aesthetically fit together and how it just makes sense. More than people being authentically excited. It's like, oh my god, it's the fucking, it's the Hellgast again.
Yeah.
Oh man, exciting. Like, I don't think anybody was really like jonesing necessarily. And to be fair, like, both of these franchises are pretty old, and I don't think anybody would necessarily be like, oh my god, is that a Chimera? But like, I do think that I think Resistance is just more interesting. I think the DNA of the shooters that preceded, like the taxonomy of Resistance, is interesting because it is so much older than the modern like 2-weapon kind of thing. It's very Half-Life coded in that sense. Because if I remember correctly, Resistance 1, I haven't played Resistance 1 since the 2000s, but I feel like you had access to all your weapons at once, right?
Yeah,
like, I feel like I remember that. And that's a very unique, that's not common today. Halo and Call of Duty and Medal of Honor really changed that. And so I just think there's more interesting meat there. I think it's a cool world. I think the Chimera are cool.
Yeah, they are cool.
And I would be happy with a reboot entirely. Like, go ahead, do Fall of Man again and just make it crazier and just do whatever you want to it. Give us that big weapon wheel, that big arsenal, and I'm all in.
Yeah, the weapon wheel is key. Like, I think Resistance was so heavily inspired by Ratchet, and I think a lot of people don't see or don't think of the connection because they're so different. But it's like, no, the weapon shit is totally from Ratchet. Like, not only the access to weapons, like all of your weapons, but the diversity of the arsenal and the strangeness of the arsenal. Like the auger, I love the auger gun in Resistance that shoots through walls. Like, you pull up the thing and you can see like silhouettes of the enemies, but the bullets go really slowly through the walls, so you have to like aim ahead of where the enemy's running, and they're running through it, and then it goes, when it goes through the wall, it then starts going quickly again, and it just fucking nails them. It's a wonderful game. Like,
yeah.
And they get better and better. But the thing that worries me about Resistance is, from the Insomniac leak, we found out it's like Resistance 3 sold not even 2 million copies, which is like, that's a sin, dude. What a sin.
That is crazy.
That game sold like 1.8 million copies or something like that. It's like, what?
I feel like they barely marketed that game, though, to be fair. Like, I don't remember seeing anything about Resistance.
They had that stupid, they had a TV ad that I know made Insomniac mad. And it was Kevin Butler on the back of a horse with that gun in his hand, like the controller. whatever the fuck that thing was called.
Oh, the PlayStation Move.
Yeah,
gun
like the Move
peripheral?
gun holder. And because it was made for like you could play it with that, and they were really mad at Insomniac because they're like it made it look like it was a Move game, when really it was just like an optional thing. Like everything in 2011 had like in 2012 was like Move functionality. Like BioShock, I think you play BioShock Infinite with the Move.
That is crazy.
So I think that like whatever they tried, I think there were two things that went wrong with it. The first thing, and I remember this being quite contentious because I know Ollie Moss is very well respected, and I totally get that. He's a great graphic artist and all of the rest, but the box art is not ideal box art. It's that I have it back there.
It's not good at all.
It's just the Chimera skull with over like that orange, and it's really cool. Like it's if you look at it, it's cool because it's like it's New York City and like the mouth and all the rest. But I'm like, this is not good box art. You know,
it's good, but it's not good box art.
Yeah, right. It would be cool inverse, and I think it is an inverse box art, but it's the one that comes facing out. I'm like, I think that matters in some sense. Like, show a little bit of action, show a Chimera getting fucking impaled or something by a bayonet or like something that grabs people's attention. So I think that matters a little bit. And then, I just think that. So I think that them revisiting it, I don't know. Is the appetite really there? I think we have like a distorted noise in this space where it makes it seem like everyone played Resistance, but really no one played Resistance. Like comparable to how many, there were 85 million PS3s and 2 million of them played Resistance 3. It's not good.
No,
that's not Uncharted numbers. I'll tell you that.
Yeah.
Anyway. Okay. Let's move on. Unless is there anything else we want to say about this? No, we'll wait. Number 4. Last week, we noted that Silent Hill F was being revealed around the time we were recording, and thus we missed it. So let's talk about it and get it on the record. First announced by publisher Konami back in 2022, Silent Hill F was properly revealed via a nearly 4-minute trailer that showcases the game's retro Japanese vibe. There's also a 46-minute video Konami release that gives much more insight into it should you be curious. Silent Hill F takes place in the fictional Japanese mountain town of Ibusagaoka. Gaoka? I don't know. Ibusagaoka. Let's see. Let's figure this out. Ibisugaoka. Ibisugaoka. It's too many vowels. In the decade of the 1960s. You play as a teenage girl named Shimizu Hanako. According to a press release, she's a student who, quote, leads an unremarkable life until a thick fog descends. I say dog here. A thick dog descends. Transforming her once familiar home into...
That's one thick dog, I tell you what.
Oh my God, that's funny. Leads an unremarkable life until a thick fog descends, transforming her once familiar home into a desolate and terrifying place. With the town seemingly abandoned and an unknown creeping menace lurking in the mist, Hanako must navigate the spectral remnants of her past, solve intricate puzzles, and battle horrifying entities to survive, end quote. As we already knew, acclaimed Japanese writer Ryukishi 07 is, God, I'm like really bad with the Japanese, is responsible for the game's narrative. Development is being assisted by Japanese illustrator Kara, who is noted to be taking deep inspiration from 2001's Silent Hill in particular, which you can tell if you look at the trailer. While Silent Hill 2 Remake's producer Motoi Akamoto is leading the project as well. The game is in development at Neobards Entertainment, a Chinese developer located primarily in Hong Kong, with a portfolio of high-quality compilations and ports done alongside Japanese publisher Capcom, including the recent Dead Rising Deluxe Remaster, which I loved, but also Mega Man Battle Network Legacy Collection, as well as the multiplayer-centric Resident Evil modes Reverse and Resistance. They likewise worked on Square Enix titles like Final Fantasy VII Rebirth and Avengers with publisher Square Enix as a contractor, obviously. This will be their first original AAA game. Silent Hill F runs in Unreal Engine 5 and will come to PlayStation 5 at an unknown point in the future. It marks the second of 3 recent and upcoming Silent Hill games in publisher Konami's quest to revitalize the series and revive it, including 2024's aforementioned Silent Hill 2 remake from Bloober Team, which was great, and Silent Hill Townfall, an adventure game coming from developer No Code at an unknown point in time. All these games were revealed at the same time or around the same time as you guys remember. Did you guys get a chance to watch this, or were you interested in watching it? So Chris, let's hear from you first. Silent Hill F, thoughts?
Yeah, I mean, off the rip, I just think it's an interesting way. It's an interesting looking game, considering it feels kind of detached. it feels like it would be a good jumping in point for a lot of people, which I think is like a good thing to do for a franchise this old. But I'm into the setting. I'm into the way things look, especially like the direction of the trailer. I think is like really good. I love the last shot specifically of the main trailer. But I'm into this. I think I don't know. It feels different. It doesn't feel like anything I've seen really before. It actually reminds me a little bit of Fatal Frame in some sense. Not exactly, but like the whole angle of like the type of character that they're focusing on. But I don't know if I have that much more to say about it. I think I'm kind of still in a wait and see kind of mode with this. And I didn't see the deeper 46-minute video.
Yeah, I scrubbed around, but I didn't watch it either. It's like interviews and things of this nature. I'm not that interested in Silent Hill. I also don't need to know much more.
Yeah, that's kind of how I'm feeling.
The trailer to me seemed like it was showing in-game locations, but obviously with no gameplay. So we don't know what it's really going to be like, or little gameplay, I should say. Dustin, what do you think of Silent Hill F coming from Neobards Entertainment out of Hong Kong to be published by Konami? I think if it was coming this year, they would have said so. But
yeah,
so probably 2026.
Yeah, I thought this trailer was awesome. I mean, of course, Japanese stuff, I'm going to be interested, but I like that it's set in, what did it say, 1960s? 50s?
It's the 60s.
60s, yeah. So really neat setting for it. I'm very intrigued by Japanese horror stuff. I don't know a lot about Japanese horror. I did a Japanese haunted house when I was at Toei Park, and it was one of the scariest things I've ever done in my entire life. So that was pretty cool. Maybe this game will have some similar vibes to it. I did have to point out, I watched this trailer with Holly in the room, and she's like, "Oh, the F might stand for forte." The way that the F,
like the music,
the character of it, yeah. She's like, "That's definitely a forte F." So I don't know what that means for the game. I don't know if that's maybe just styling, but I thought it was cool that she immediately pointed that out.
Yeah,
but
nice.
Yeah,
I think it's cool to have a Silent Hill game set in Japan. I haven't played all the Silent Hill games. I've played 1, I've played the original 2, and I've played remake of 2. But to my understanding, this is the first game in Japan. So not only is that element of it neat, but as I said earlier, the time period also really cool. And then this trailer just looked really creepy and gross and hit all the right notes for me as far as a Silent Hill game goes.
It looks great. I'm excited about it too. It looks great. The environments, having just played Silent Hill 2, I was just like, yeah, you can see them positioning and showing you certain environments and certain puzzles and puzzle rooms and just little things that will come into more context as we play the game. So I don't really need to see any more. The puzzle aspect of Silent Hill 2 is like what threw me off from it. Like I needed help because it's too much. It's too much for me to like. After a while, it's like, got to get this key and then run to this place and put it in this box and grab this orb. And then you put this orb in this guy's eyeball in a painting. And the painting points you to a door that's now unlocked. And it's like, oh my God, dude. Too much. Yeah, but fun. I love the vibe of it. That's what was fun about it to me. It was atmospheric. But you were going to say something, Chris?
Oh, no, I was going to say just like the science, the sheer... the technical wizardry that would be needed to even make that work always bothers me in games like that, where it's like, oh, I put the eyeball in the painting and that somehow wirelessly links to the door. It's like, who built this?
Yeah, totally like these insane Resident Evil contraptions.
Yeah, in a police station, it's like we've got an elevator that only operates if you have 7 medallions. It's like, what the fuck? This is such a terrible. It's like the worst designs possible for anything.
It's the stupidest elevator ever.
It's fun though.
It is fun. Definitely. Shout out to Konami. Keep it up.
Mm-hmm.
All right. Number 5. We go to sales figures. Finally, we have sales figures from the United States gaming market this time for the month of February 2025 via data tracking firm Circana. The US is the biggest core gaming market in the world and thus always gives us good insight into how things are doing. For starters, PlayStation 5 was again the best-selling console in the US for the month and is outpacing PlayStation 4's US sales time adjusted by 7%, a big victory for a much more expensive machine. Likewise, PlayStation Portal was again the best-selling accessory in the US for the month because it's fucking awesome. Interestingly, the 4 top-selling games for the month are all new releases. You almost never see this. Monster Hunter Wilds slotted in at 1, followed by Kingdom Come Deliverance 2 in second place, Civilization 7 in third, and PGA Tour 2K25 in fourth. Again, another way that we're completely disconnected from reality. Another new game, Like a Dragon Pirate Yakuza in Hawaii, slotted 8th. Other notable games on the list include Spider-Man 2 at 13, Helldivers 2 at 17, and Astrobot holding on at 20. We only have 2 months of data so far, so this isn't all that interesting yet, but Monster Hunter Wilds is the best-selling game of 2025 so far, followed by Kingdom Come Deliverance 2 and Civilization 7. If you look only at games sold on PlayStation platforms, this is the top 10 for the month of February. Monster Hunter Wilds, Kingdom Come Deliverance 2, Call of Duty Black Ops 6, NBA 2K25, PGA Tour 2K25, Civilization 7, Madden NFL 25, Like a Dragon, Pirate Yakuza in Hawaii, Grand Theft Auto 5, and EA Sports FC 25. In terms of player engagement across PlayStation platforms, these were the 10 most played games for the month in order. Prepare for your depression. Fortnite, Call of Duty HQ, Grand Theft Auto 5, Roblox, Marvel Rivals, NBA 2K25, High on Life because it was on PS Plus, Minecraft, Madden NFL 25, and College Football 25. I always love seeing the PS Plus games pop in because you can see how important those games, like one game is always on there. That was like the new PS Plus game, and it's High on Life this time around. So nothing too surprising there. Monster Hunter Wilds killing, Civilization 7 doing well, Kingdom Come Deliverance.
Yeah.
I assume we'll get a third one in the next 5 years, and probably lots of expansions and support for this one. So yeah, nothing too crazy. A few PlayStation games, Astrobot holding on, still selling. The Astrobot PS5 bundle that we revealed would be announced or whatever from some French leaker has in fact entered the market as well. So I wonder how that'll affect Astrobot sales and the permanence of that game. And Helldivers at 17. So people are still buying it.
Also, important to note with Monster Hunter Wilds being the best-selling game of, well, not only the year, but for February, it came out the last day of the month.
Wow.
And just completely crushed it. So
crazy.
Huge numbers for Capcom.
Yeah, shout out to Capcom. Okay. Let's end our show as we always do with 6 inquiries from the audience, 6 questions, comments, concerns, thoughts, and ideas from patreon.com/laststandmedia. Remember, you support us over there and get early ad-free access to the show, ability to use RSS links to draw the shows into your podcast app of choice, Sacred Symbols Plus each and every week, and so on and so forth. We really appreciate you. Couldn't do it without you over there. Orion Virchow wrote in and said, hello, Sacred Boys. How young is too young? My son just started playing video games a few months before he turned 5. It was basic Paw Patrol side-scrolling games that eventually it turned into him beating Astrobot and putting in like 100 hours on that game. I know my wife's not a big fan, but I do have parental controls in place. I even got him his own PSN. You have to be an adult to create a child's account. A few months before he turned 5, I mean, I was playing video games as soon as I could hold the controller. Probably not very well. I was obsessed with them immediately. Whether that was good or not, I don't know. 5 seems an appropriate age, though.
Yeah.
All things in balance. The weird thing is my family never really tried to take me away from video games. So I really just did absorb them more than it's not that my parents weren't strict because they were strict in their own ways, but for some reason they just weren't strict about that. I think they liked me being home and like not having to worry about me, frankly. So, so I think that would probably played into it a little bit. So I feel like 5 years old is an appropriate age, but I don't know. Like, what do you think? Dustin, what are your thoughts?
Yeah. Well, like you, Colin, I was playing video games before I could even comprehend them, clicking around on computers, playing Toonland with Howie Mandel, as I've mentioned before. So I think the most important thing here is that he's playing real video games, and that's awesome. It's not like he's on an iPad on Roblox with a predator there trying to get him. You know, it's a real game with Astrobot, and I think that's awesome. So if you can keep him on that path and not down the slot path of Roblox, Fortnite, or mobile slot, I say let him play as long as he wants till his brain rots out. That's no problem. No, moderation is good.
Agreed.
But my parents never put any limits on me, but I also kind of naturally didn't become so obsessed that I like couldn't do anything else. So I guess you just probably should feel it out as you go. Sounds like if you put in 100 hours into Astrobot, he's pretty into it. So he also doesn't have any responsibilities right now at this point in his life. So maybe as homework and other things. If you can't, you got to figure out how to get that balance.
What are you doing for 100 hours in Astrobot? That's my question.
He probably sucks at it.
Yeah.
Loser.
Kid needs to get better at games.
Get good.
Dude, I guarantee you it's just jumping around and doing nothing. Because I used to spend an inordinate amount of time in like Halo 2 multiplayer maps by myself. Just like looking at everything. Like it's ridiculous. Because before I even understood that Xbox Live could be a thing, like I remember it would always confuse me that like the maps were so big because I was like, there's only 4 controller ports. I don't get it. These are so big. Like who the fuck? It didn't even occur to me.
Yeah.
Yeah. And it was like man, that's a really take it for granted kind of thing now because it's just assumed. But like I remember that really blowing my mind. Playing with people that you just didn't know. Crazy.
I don't know, man. Like 5, like are people really worried about kids playing games at 5?
Yeah,
I guess I get it. Kids are very easily, obviously impressionable, and so like it could become obsessive. I was obsessed with games.
Yeah,
I really was.
I wouldn't want like a 5-year-old playing something that I felt was designed to take advantage of an adult brain. If that makes sense. Like I wouldn't want like microtransactions or like pop-up ads or anything like that. Because I feel like that sets like a bad precedent. You know, like that's something that I don't think you should get used to that, you know? But just video games in general, like I'm trying to remember when I started playing video games and I really can't remember. It has been as long as I've been reliably sentient. You know, like I feel like at 3 and 2, I was like noodling around with something in the house, like the NES or my sister's PlayStation or whatever. But yeah, I think you're right. Where like I feel like my parents were just happy to have me home and not out like I don't know throwing Molotov cocktails through police stations, you know, or whatever the kids are doing.
Whatever the kids were getting busy doing. Orion, my question is, how does your son feel about the trophy grind?
I got the platinum trophy.
He's got to get that 100 hours in Astrobot. He better have the platinum trophy.
Yeah,
or he's got to quit.
Embarrassing.
He's got to quit. He's got to go do something else.
You have to take his PlayStation in front of him and smash it to pieces, and then record it and send it to Jimmy Fallon so he can laugh at you in front of millions of people.
And then you hand him a work belt or something, and you say, "Go be a carpenter or something."
Yeah, go back to the mines.
Andrew Betteridge wrote in and said, "Hello, folks. With Easter around the corner, I got thinking about how much I love Easter eggs, especially in video games. Earliest I can remember were Doom and Duke Nukem 3D secrets. I love tracking the Megalodon hunt in Battlefield 4, the various Nuketown Easter eggs in Call of Duty, and especially the various GTA 5 secrets. I'm often curious about how many games come and go without anyone ever finding potential Easter eggs. What are your favorite Easter eggs in gaming? Cheers from your friendly neighbor in the Great White North." Thank you for writing in, Andrew. God, all the talk of eggs has reminded me. I went to Waffle House again 2 days ago.
Oh,
and eggs are way cheaper now, but they still have the surcharge on the eggs.
What's
are they really cheaper now?
Yeah, they're like
not around here.
Oh yeah, they're cheaper. Well, they're definitely cheaper for us, but also the Bureau of Statistics or whatever released like a thing where they're like they've like bottomed out and are like cheaper than they've been in months. And I felt like I was getting ripped off a little bit. But that's neither here nor there. I just wanted to tell someone.
I just spent $10 on like a dozen. So like I don't know.
Wow. Yeah. We're getting.
That was like yesterday.
Yeah. Wow. Yeah. It's much more affordable for us here because we eat a lot of eggs. Or we were. I kind of stopped because I was like, well, it seems kind of wasteful. But then I started again. Anyway, back to Easter eggs. It's funny. I love this stuff too, and I often think about that as well, about all the things that are in games that will never be found or are not interpreted in the way that they could be interpreted. If you're an artist or a designer, like planting things, think about like just the wilderness of a game and all of the space and expanse. Like there's got to be so much shit hidden in that spaces and places you just wouldn't know to look. Like you zoomed in on a leaf or something, or I wonder about that all the time. I think about that. So we've talked about a kind of infamous Easter egg that I loved, which was the Last of Us Easter egg in Uncharted 3 that no one realized was there, and that Sony was afraid to take out in a patch because they were afraid it would bring attention to it. That it was like left in there unintentionally, that it was like kind of more of a joke. and it was a newspaper that kind of showed the outbreak on it, but no one noticed it. And millions of people played that game before it was brought to anyone's attention. The one that I think about, though, for me as like a gamer was I do love in Fallout 3, which we were bringing out earlier, which is a game I absolutely adore, finding the UFO, the crash UFO, which is like an optional thing. And they have like, there's like alien bodies in it. And then this obviously connects to Mothership Zeta, which was one of the DLC packs, but we didn't know that at the time. And there was like a really powerful gun. I don't know if you guys remember, like the alien blaster, which was like insanely powerful. And
that's right.
I loved that little thing. Like it was just so strange, but you had to like go into some random part of the map and just kind of discover it. So that's what came to mind for me. Anything come to you, mind for you, Chris?
Yeah, no, well, Fallout's great. Fallout is chock full of great. They have some weird artistic license, I guess, with a world that crazy to just do, like they can make references like that. And or just do things that are really, really out there, and it just kind of fits in. Like one of my favorite ones from Fallout 4 was like you could find Indiana Jones dead in a fridge,
right,
which is like such an awesome. Cool. I love that stuff. But the ones that come to mind are like really like heavy gameplay ones that like you really weren't meant to see. Where I think about the Scarab gun in Halo 2 a lot, where like you had to. The process of getting that thing was crazy because you had to lure. There was like a level with like a big tunnel, and you had to lure an enemy like jet into it because there was like a barrier in there that wouldn't let you fly the jet in. So you had to like lure it all the way down through this tunnel and like hijack it right at like a loading screen, so where the barrier would go away, and then you could fly up onto a bridge, and then you had just the strongest gun in the whole game, and it was just obliterated everything. I don't even know how somebody would even begin to find something like that. That's some of the crazy shit too, is just like, how do you even know how to get to these places? Especially back in like 2004, where like who's figuring this out? But one that I love, that I think about often when I think about Easter eggs, and there are many, and there's so many in Red Dead Redemption 2 that I think are great as well. But my favorite one of Rockstar's is the Statue of Liberty in Grand Theft Auto 4, or the Statue of Happiness is what it's called in the game, has Hillary Clinton's face on it. Because she was like, I guess, as many people were back then, they were just like, there was this big campaign against Grand Theft Auto, like obviously because it was just too violent and like really controversial, and there was like this pull to kind of pull it or censor it in some way, or just basically like, you know, bring up a huge amount of hysteria about it. And so they just straight up put her real. They just put up straight up Hillary Clinton's real face on the Statue of Liberty, and just like smiling with this deranged smile. And if you go inside the Statue of Liberty, there's a beating heart.
Yeah,
there's
that's
like
right.
This giant beating heart where like I remember stumbling upon that naturally and being like, this is fucking awesome.
I have the Statue of Happiness.
Oh, do you really?
Yeah. I don't know where it came from.
Does it have Hillary Clinton's face on like this on the 3D? I know it has it in the game, but I don't know if they would have been able to clear that.
On it.
Yeah, it's a generic woman.
I think it might have come with a special edition, maybe, or something. I don't know.
That's awesome.
It's got like the Rockstar logo on the bottom. It's cool.
Yeah, what's it holding? I can't remember. Like it's like a cup. It's a coffee cup, right?
Yeah,
that's awesome. Yeah, but I remember like that stuff like that, where it's just like it's just like a giant beating heart in the center in the Statue of Liberty is like such a cool. I love that idea, like as a premise. But yeah, I could go for hours about the like. There's so many good Easter eggs in video games, but those are the ones that come to mind off the rip.
Anything for you, Dustin?
For me, the first thing that came to mind, Chris, I know you'll know this, is at the end of Halo 1, when you're racing on a warthog to get out of the Pillar of Autumn, there's like a little side door that you go through, and there's a grunt in there who's just chilling and goes on this diatribe about getting off the starship, something about a food nipple.
Yeah. I got to get back to the food nipple.
Yeah, because he has a big grunty thirst.
Yeah.
So we used to always stop when me and my friends would play Halo. You always stop there because it was like the illusion of everything blowing up, but really you can take as long as you want. So stop, see the grunt, see what he's doing. He says the same thing every time, and then you go. But I'm trying to think. I was trying to remember in like Metal Gear Solid. always had a lot of fun, weird stuff. There's one really specific, like Kojima Gooner thing where when you spy down on Meryl in the first game, if you do it multiple times, she's then doing sit-ups in her underwear or something. So Kojima,
yeah,
we're watching you. We know you got the little bit of that Gooner edge.
Oh, definitely,
to you.
definitely.
The that grunt you're talking about is in the third one also.
Oh,
Or like it's at the very end when you at that iconic warthog run at the end when everything's collapsing around you, and you can choose to veer off, and the whole thing is that he insults you and he says like the jerk store called and they're running out of you, and he's like all these like really terrible insults, and you have to lose to see it, and it's like right at the very end of the level too, so like you would have to replay the level just to see it. But I love that stuff.
Yeah, me too.
It's Easter eggs are so fun, and like you said at the beginning of this question, where it's just like I wonder how many have just gone completely, like somebody put it in and just didn't tell the team about it, or it's just so abstract that we would have no understanding that there was even a meaning to it at all.
Right.
I
think
love
there's a lot of that.
Oh,
I would put shit in. I'd definitely put some sort of imprint if I was crafting those worlds. All right. Next up is Jackson Birch. Says, hey, Colin and crew. I don't understand the hate Naughty Dog gets these days. When I look at their games from Uncharted to The Last of Us, they nail every element of what makes a great single-player experience. The music, voice acting, gameplay, writing, graphics, all top tier. Each Uncharted game pushed things forward for AAA single-player titles, and The Last of Us became the gold standard. Then Part 2 followed that up with another incredibly polished, ambitious experience. To me, Naughty Dog is still up there with the best of the best. Rockstar, Larian, CD Projekt Red, whoever. But whenever I go online, all I see is negativity. Feels like Naughty Dog is being treated like a studio that's fallen off, when in reality, they're still delivering some of the most refined, high-quality games out there. If PlayStation ran a poll asking whether Days Gone or The Last of Us Part 2 was the better game, I feel like Days Gone would win. And no disrespect to that game or its developers, but we all know that's ridiculous. It's not just Naughty Dog either. I see similar revisionist history with Santa Monica Studio and Guerrilla Games. Why do you think this shift in perception happened? Is it just internet culture latching onto negativity, or do you think there's something deeper going on? Thanks for reading. Looking forward to hearing your thoughts. We've talked about this a little bit in the past, and I wanted to touch on it from a different angle, which is, and we can talk about whatever we want, of course, but I think this particular argument about Naughty Dog is kind of out of control at this point, out of our control. Like there is some sort of self-fulfilling hate for this studio that I think is above and beyond a lot of what goes on in the games industry, but I don't think it should, and people have the right to feel however they want. It's like, you can't really do anything about that, but I think you just have to like kind of shut it out. And ultimately, I think the proof will be in the pudding one way or the other when the new game comes out. And we see if it does millions of units like they typically do and gets a mid-90s Metacritic score and is virtually a beloved game with everyone, then I think that will be much more satisfying for all parties involved, and as opposed to kind of fighting against this prevailing wisdom about a studio that hasn't released a game in a long time and we've not seen anything from in a long time. The thing that bothers me about Naughty Dog is just the level of skepticism. It's not that people like them or don't like them, it's the skepticism. Where I'm like, I just don't get why you have to be like, how could, this is one of the teams I feel like you shouldn't be skeptical of. And teams have to earn your respect, and they've earned my respect. It's very much like we've said recently a lot about Bloober Team, about how for me, they've earned a lot of respect with Silent Hill 2. And now I believe in them a lot more. And if they're doing another game with Konami, which they are doing another game with Konami, and it's like, I believe that that's going to be a great game based on but you had to earn it. And these guys have earned it. And I haven't forgotten that. I think it's clearly obvious that it's popular to hate on Naughty Dog, but I just don't know how that's going to net out in terms of sales and performance. And that's really where this is all going to lie. It could be that Intergalactic comes out, sells poorly, undoes Naughty Dog, and the haters might have been right the whole time, and maybe the game just sucks. But do you really think that? Like, that's the thing that I struggle with, is like, you really think that not only is the game not going to be good, but that, or really you think the game will sell poorly? Or like people are going, it's the end of Naughty Dog. I'm like, I just don't know about that. I think that sounds preposterous, actually. So we'll just see what happens. But in the meantime, like, what's the point of rolling in the mud about it? You know, there's really no reason to, because it just is. It's solidified. It is what it is. It's like the Israeli conflict or something. It's like there's just sides to it. It is what it is.
Right.
What's the point? So that's what I wanted to say about it this time around. I'm sure we'll be touching on this a lot over the years to come as we wait for this game. And The Last of Us Part 2 right around the corner or season 2 on HBO. Be coming
That's
up
right.
too.
Did you see the poster?
Yeah. It's bad.
Yeah.
I didn't have a problem with her casting in the first season, but they've not done enough to differentiate her and make her look older in the second season when she's supposed to be. I mean, and she does look much older in the second game.
Did you see did you ever see Alien Romulus, that new Alien movie?
No, I didn't.
I feel like I watched that movie and the whole time I was thinking like, that's Ellie, dude. Like, this is good. And I think even the director said something about like how he actually played The Last of Us and he really liked it, and it was like a big part of like why the movie is the way it is. But like I was just like, damn, this is like perfect. It's kind of damn near perfect casting for Ellie, actually. It's a little frustrating. The main girl, I don't remember what her name was, or who the actress was, but I was just like, damn, this is perfect, actually. And I was looking at that poster and I was just like, damn, Bella Ramsey just can't sell what needs to be sold in that poster. She's a great actress. You know, I would never take that away from her.
Is it Callie Spaney?
That sounds right.
Spaney?
That sounds right. Yeah, in that movie, there's like such like you feel like it's kind of wild. I think you'd like it, actually, Colin.
Oh, I love Alien movies.
But,
I'm a little behind on the Alien stuff. So.
Oh yeah, no worries. But I defy you to watch that movie and not think of The Last of Us when you're not necessarily in like the themes or anything like that. But like just in like there's certain imagery of it where I'm just like, that's straight up. Like, I see you. I see what you're doing.
Any thoughts you want to share, Dustin?
I don't know if I have anything particularly new. It's just the era we live in where there are certainly a lot of legitimate criticisms about Naughty Dog, specifically Last of Us Part 2. And the levels in which that upsets you. So I get that. At the same time, we do live in the like cyclical hate nature of the internet, especially when hating something is monetizable. So that doesn't really help either. So I just wonder, it'll be as you said, Colin, it could come out and it could be shit. It's not completely impossible, but as you said, the track record shows that most likely will not be the case. So it will be the ultimate irony, I think, for some of us, if this game comes out and it is incredible. It's like irresistibly good. It's going to be really interesting because there's been a lot of talk about how the game is inspired by Elden Ring. And I wonder how that would affect your enjoyment of it, Colin, and what that really means for a Naughty Dog game. Yeah. But I don't know. It could be big, real big, or it could crash and burn. But it's, as you said, Colin, we kind of just got to wait and see.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't know what the appetite is for the game or what the appetite will ultimately be for it. But I feel like we're going to see so much more of it. I said when it was shown, I'm like, I feel like a lot of people are going to eat crow when it's shown, like gameplay is shown. And I don't say that because I've seen it, because I haven't. I say that because I just believe that this is the first of many marketing beats, and they kind of know what they're doing. And it seems hard for me to believe that they're going to miss.
Right.
And should they miss, but survive, and I think that if they miss, they would survive probably, that paints in Naughty Dog in a whole different light moving forward. And then you have to reanalyze everything they're doing moving forward through something that missed. But they don't miss. It just is what it is. They don't. I'm not a Crash or Jack fan, but people love that shit. Then you have all of the Uncharted stuff, all of the Last of Us stuff. It's like, what are we talking about?
Yeah,
these are the highest quality games, like amongst the top echelon, the apex of quality.
Yeah, they're like very well made. Like the worst. You can't really argue that like those games aren't well made. You know what I mean? Like, even if you hate them or they're not your style, which I've not been shy about it. Where I think modern Naughty Dog games aren't necessarily my preferred kind of cup of tea necessarily. Like, it's not really like I'm into very, very, very gameplay oriented kind of games, and it's very clearly like more of a narrative focus. Same thing with Uncharted, really. Like I liked Uncharted 1 and 2 and 3 and 4, but definitely 3 and 4 less so, because I'm just not really a narrative guy in the same way that a lot of people are. And so I see a lot of people saying like, these guys run defense for Naughty Dog. It's not necessarily defense. It's just like we don't know what the game is yet. So like I personally don't feel a reason to feel strongly either way about it, because we don't know what the fucking game is. All we have is like hypotheticals and like a trailer that kind of gives you a vibe and like a general idea, but it's silly to, in my opinion, form like a really rock solid opinion on something that you have not played or really experienced. Mm-hmm. And so based on their track record, I'm inclined to believe it will be good. I don't know if that means I'll like it or if it'll like appeal to like my exact flavor or my exact tastes, but I have no reason to believe it would be terrible. At the worst that I can imagine that game being is like maybe like a mid 7 or like an 8. You know what I mean? Like you're not gonna get fucking what's that? Ride to Hell Retribution out of Naughty Dog. And to me, like that's the only, like I don't want. That's another thing too. Like I feel like because we are in this like cyclical, like cynical cycle of monetizable hate, that I feel like we're a little bit harsher on things that probably like would have been. There are games today that I bet were they to come out in like 2004 exactly as they are, but like maybe like lower res or whatever, people would swoon the fuck over. There's so many good games now that I can't relate to the intense skepticism.
Yeah, I think people can interpret they can interpret what I'm doing as running defense. To me, how would I put this? It's like observing objective reality. Like that like that they're just for the kind of games I like, or at least a kind of game that I like, they make amongst the very best that have ever been done. Whether it's the Uncharted games or the Last of Us games, like third person, character driven, story driven action in the highest possible production parameters, within the highest possible production parameters, is like, these are very few games that reach this level, in my opinion. They exist. Red Dead 2, BioShock. Right. Like they are a few times a generation you get games like that. And they're always, since I think Uncharted 2 specifically, have always been in the conversation of like, this game is one of those games. Uncharted 3, one of those games. Uncharted 4, one of those games. The Last of Us 1, The Last of Us 2. It's like, you can be skeptical if you want. I don't see what there is to be skeptical about it, as I'm looking forward to it. Like, I'm excited about it. I don't understand being so hung up on the negativity. And I think a lot of people are going to look dumb. That's my opinion, but maybe I'm wrong. Yeah. I mean, I'm willing to be wrong.
That's possible.
I'm wrong about a lot of things, but I think it's more likely Intergalactic is a 90 plus on Metacritic and sells millions of copies than it is a 75 that sells 700,000 copies. There's just no doubt about that.
But even their floor, you know what I mean? Like even the worst that it could be is still like, that's going to be a good game. Like that's kind of how I feel about it.
I think so too. And that floor exists for a lot of studios. Like I don't think that a lot of teams are in like great teams in the world are even capable of making bad games. Mm-hmm. So anyway, we'll see what happens. Jackson, thank you for writing in. Huge Load wrote in, said, Colin, where is Bloodstained Ritual of the Night 2? The first game was so good, I can't believe it's been 6 years since. I know the director is very ill and I am cognizant of that, but they should have moved more quickly on a sequel. It's a game I like more as time goes on. So I went and looked into this because I was like, what? Like, he's sick? And then I was like, is Iga sick? And I didn't think about it. Iga, of course, is the producer. So it's not him that's sick. Bloodstained Ritual of the Night came out in 2019. So it was a long time ago. And people might remember that there were the Bloodstained Curse of the Moon game that came out in 2018, which was like the 8-bit kind of style, Castlevania 3 style game. And then they released another one of those in 2021 or in 2020, which was sick. And ever since then, Ritual of the Night 2 has been noted to be in development. I don't really know what's taking so long for a game like this. It's a little disappointing, but I wasn't aware of this. We didn't report on this. This just came and went. Like, I didn't see this. So I went and looked at, and IGN had a story. It's from October of last year. Bloodstained Ritual of the Night director stepping back from sequel after cancer diagnosis. Castlevania veteran Shutaro Ida has announced that he will be stepping back from work on Bloodstained Ritual of the Night 2 following his recent cancer diagnosis. The game developer, who worked on a long list of entries in Konami's Castlevania series and more recently directed 2019's Bloodstained, announced the news in a post on X. He says he'll be offloading some of his responsibilities with the rest of the team at developer Artplay now that he has begun his cancer battle. I missed this. I just didn't know that this happened. So that's really, really sad to hear. Yeah, I as far as like what's taking the game so long, I don't really know. Did either of you play Ritual of the Night? It was really great. I mean, I wish it was a proper 2D game, but and it's my hope that maybe it's taking so long because they're going to make a proper, not 2.5D, but rather Castlevania Symphony of the Night style pixel art game that would be very difficult and expensive, but awesome. And maybe that's that. Well, man can dream. But I liked it a lot, and it's kind of the only Castlevania we're getting still. I mean, what's so amazing about that is that game is 6 years old, and still, we don't get Castlevania games. You'd think Konami would have seen that and been like, yeah, maybe we should spool something up here, and that it would be launched by now, but it isn't so. So the shame about this is that they've kind of, like, Castlevania is going to come back, and they've wasted all of this time that they could have had the spotlight before that happens, and the ball's in the other court again.
They had a lot of second wins kind of available to them too with the show and stuff.
Mm-hmm, definitely.
Like they really, it is crazy. We just got like, it wasn't Nocturne last year?
Yeah, I believe it was.
Yeah. So like it's people, they're aware that people are into it. You know, it is strange.
Dustin, what's taking so long?
It's a good question.
Speak extemporaneously about Castlevania for 5 minutes, please.
Yeah, I played a little bit. I played a little bit of Bloodstained. I didn't get into it though. Now that I played Symphony of the Night, maybe if I return to it, I would be more into it. So yeah, it's unfortunate that the director is ill. So hopefully he's doing.
I didn't hear that.
Yeah,
how did I miss that?
He's doing okay. But I'm surprised. Yeah, I'm really surprised Konami isn't doing anything. I would be shocked if there wasn't some kind of Castlevania game in development right now.
Oh, yeah, I think so, too. Hopefully, well, Mercury Steam's busy, so it's not going to be them, thank God. So hopefully, like, something more traditional. Although, again, I will say, like, I liked Castlevania Lords of Shadow 1 quite a bit. It felt like a Castlevania game. But they lost the plot real quickly on that one. I'll say that second one was... I don't know what the fuck they were doing with that game. And then that basically killed Castlevania for a while. So, but yeah, like you said, the Netflix series is so beloved. Like, why aren't they? Maybe you got to give Konami some credit for not trying to take advantage of the cross media, like zeitgeist, because I would be all over that shit. And in fact, my Castlevania game would look like the cartoon. I mean, maybe not one for one. Maybe that would be difficult, but that art style, I would just make it like that. Dude, the first season of that first Castlevania run, it's fucking good, dude. It's really, they really do lose it after a while. It doesn't even become about any characters you care about. I stopped watching it because I was like, I don't even know who the fuck any of these people are anymore. But that first season especially is so dark and gothic and religious and strange. By the way, can you guys hear the rain? It's raining really hard. Oh, good. Let's see. Yeah, it's pouring out there. Oh, it's distracting the fuck out of me. All right. Vault 101 guy wrote in. Said, sup CDC. A recent interview came out about the upcoming God of War TV show on Amazon. The showrunner was asked if he had played the games, and he said no. He tried to play it and didn't have the ability. In my opinion, the best way to understand the story and its characters is to play the games. Are we going to have another Halo show mess? Thoughts? Maybe. It's what's the guy's name? Roger Moore is the guy who's doing this, and he's the guy who worked on Battlestar Galactica and did a bunch of Star Trek shit back in the day or whatever.
Yeah,
and he's like a bona fide nerd, and he's the one that apparently was the creative force or one of the creative forces behind Santa Monica's vaunted canceled sci-fi game. I bring this up because Santa Monica is certainly involved in the show in some respect, like Naughty Dog's involved in the Last of Us show, and they probably like him. And if they like him, then it probably comes from that original experience. And so I have a little bit of more trust in him than maybe I would otherwise. But I don't. It's just strange for me that such a nerdy person doesn't know how to play a console video game. That's the weirdest part to me. Like this dude was like an OG on like Star Trek: The Next Generation and shit, like a writer and like a one of the creative guys. It's like, you don't play video games?
Well, dude, like I was listening to that interview of him and when he talked about it, and it's amazing how many people dipped out of video games the second there were like shoulder buttons and analog sticks. That's what he talks about. Yeah. He said specifically like there's buttons back here now, and then like it got too much, and I'm like, that's so crazy.
That's interesting
because that's been my entire life. Is the modern control setup really? They've really only I remember when they added analog sticks, but I was like,
right, dude,
like 5 or 6 or something.
I was 7 when shoulder buttons were added. So even I was like around like when R and L were added, the SNES controller.
Right, yeah.
And and then the analog stick with N64, I was 12. So it has been most of my life as well. I was 11 actually. When the N64 came out. Oh no, I would have been 12.
But a lot of these guys are like, they come from like, yeah, man. We had one button and a joystick.
Yeah, right.
And I guess I don't know how I feel about it really. Like I feel like on some level I can't fault them. Like, because there are certain jobs I think where you don't necessarily need to familiarize yourself with the game. Like when Walton Goggins goes in to play like the ghoul from Fallout, I don't really need him to have played the game. You know what I mean? Like, you're an actor, you're playing a character. I don't really give a shit if you know the game or not. Like, your job is to take a script and a character and like make it believable and real. And the showrunner and the director are really the people who are meant to like guide you in the direction to make it either faithful or intentionally not, but a showrunner or a director, I feel like somebody at the table, regardless of who it is, be it like a really involved executive producer, be it the director, be it the showrunner, not necessarily all of them, but one of those people has to have played the game, I think. Because otherwise you're just like, you're in the fucking dark at that point. You're making something that's based on something else, and maybe it comes together, but like I don't know, man. I've been suspicious of this specific project for a while. Like I really don't understand how you I don't understand how you do a live action God of War, man. I don't get it. I can't see it in my mind's eye in a format that isn't animated.
Yeah, I agree.
Like I don't see it unless you're making Kratos CG or you're going to use like weird forced perspective where like they do like Gandalf stuff. Like I don't get how they're going to make him believable. And so I think that's really, I don't know. I that's the main reason why I don't really have a lot of faith in whatever this is in the first place. Like, this to me is him not playing the games is like, that sucks. And it is reminiscent of what they did say about Halo, about like how we didn't play the game to familiar. But at the same time, those people, that was actually like, if I'm remembering correctly, that was actually a misquote, because they did play the game. They just didn't rely on it, I guess, which is also stupid as fuck.
Yeah, that's even worse.
But yeah, that was even more insulting to me. It's just like, I would rather you fucking never even heard the word alien before and got this job. But yeah, I don't know how I feel about this God of War thing, man. It's gonna look weird as fuck.
Yeah, it is gonna look weird. I am in agreement that I'm just generally skeptical of someone's unfamiliarity with the subject matter,
right?
And you gotta know it. You have to know it. I would hope that at the very least that he watched full playthroughs, like has all of the context necessary. I don't know if you need to play it to get all of the finer points if you watch it, I guess, but you have to be familiar with it. It's just, it would be annoying as fuck, actually. If that wasn't the case.
You got to watch it. I do think someone there has to play it, because I do think playing it gives you like a different kind of experience than just watching it. But like, and maybe they do. Maybe they have, like you said, they are working with Santa Monica, and they are the stewards of this thing. It's not exactly like Halo, where like, you have a bunch of people who inherited a franchise who are now loosely involved. That's like 4 layers of separation in some way. Whereas this is like a little bit more direct. So I don't anticipate a disaster on that front, but I just can't get over I just don't know how they're going to do it.
Dustin, thoughts?
Well, I coming in with a very late correction. So if you made a comment, leave it because we like the engagement, but everyone make fun of them. Colin, you said Roger Moore.
Yeah.
And that's one of the James Bond actors.
Oh, right. What's
You're
his
looking
name?
for
Robert Moore?
Ronald D. Moore.
Ronald Moore.
Ronald
Moore.
So I just knew, I was like, Roger Moore, that doesn't sound
Yeah,
quite
it does.
right.
You're right. Roger Moore. Yeah, he's a Bond guy.
So please make fun of the correcting comments down
fine.
below.
I'll live.
So I feel like PlayStation's done a pretty good job with making sure that their TV and movie productions have been not necessarily that it needs to be 100% faithful because that won't necessarily work, but they are faithful in the right ways. So I have some faith in PlayStation that even if the writer hasn't played the game, that there's still the infrastructure in place, whether it's like something like Chris is saying, where there is someone on hand, multiple people on hand, maybe that have played the games, whether he's watched playthroughs or gotten the correct info. I'm not too concerned about it. I get why it would be concerning, but if he is the right guy for the job with the writing chops, then I think they'll figure out a way to work around the fact that he's not played the games or doesn't have the skill to do that. They'll make it work. So I wouldn't, be too concerned quite yet. We got to actually see if a trailer comes out and it's terrible, then that's when it's like, oh shit, maybe not the right move.
Yeah, we'll see what happens. I share the skepticism that I think a lot of people have of being able to do this properly, but PlayStation Productions hasn't missed yet. So maybe there's a reason. Also, is this it was Horizon. Never mind. I was going to say one of the shows was like canceled, or like the showrunner got in trouble, but they like kept with it because I assume they believed in it, but I think that would be Horizon. And Horizon's going to be difficult to do too.
Yeah. Maybe
even more difficult in some ways. But yeah, just Kratos and his scale is going to be tough. All right. Vault 101 guy, thank you for writing in. Willie Wanker wrote in. He has the final inquiry. Says, hey, CDC. How do you feel about games running at 40 frames instead of 30 and 60? I ask because people are saying the PS5 Pro version of AC Shadows is a huge leap when compared to base PS5, but it's only a huge leap when comparing performance modes. Why are few people making that distinction? The other modes look very similar to each other. It's so misleading. I think the 40 frames mode is fine. It's not jittery like 30 frames. I bet most people couldn't tell 40 from 60. And AC isn't a game that requires precision timing, but I guess a 1080p 60 frames mode with ray tracing is a generational leap over a 4K 40 mode with the same ray tracing. Keep up the good work. I thought that I was reading that the Pro did a really nice job with Assassin's Creed. That is like maybe the most impressive of all the games so far. But am I wrong on this?
No, you're correct. The point is that the standard PS5 in its 40 FPS mode looks the same as the PS5 Pro performance mode at 60. So his point is that that most people wouldn't be able to tell the difference between 40 and 60. There's kind of a big point that you need to have a specific TV, like a nice newer TV that has 120 hertz mode in order to even use the 40 FPS mode. So there's that. But if you even care to engage that type of mode, then you are the type of person that can tell the difference between 30, 40, and 60. And don't get me wrong, I think 40 FPS modes are awesome. The fact that they have that as an option, a way to have a fidelity mode that gives you a little bit more performance, a little bit quicker of a reaction time, I think that's great. But it's not as good as 60. Certainly. It's certainly way better than 30. Because that's the thing about frame rates is that they get, there's diminishing returns, but the difference between 40 and 60 or between 30 and 40 is huge. Even just those 10 frames, it's like an exponential effect. Right. So I think it's good that a standard PS5 game has that option. And I think it's great that PS5 Pro mode can do that at 60. So it's just more options. So I don't think there's really any problems here.
Are you I still haven't played a game on PS5 Pro really, except for Silent Hill. Still, that really uses it. Maybe Atomfall will use it.
Maybe. I mean, presumably we're in that window of time where like the machine's been out for long enough, and there's games kind of coming out now that are that presumably would have been able to take advantage of it without necessarily having to go through the extra development of like maybe a delayed patch. So we're probably going to start seeing a lot more of it. Obviously, Assassin's Creed is doing a good job, apparently, according to some of the reporting, and I'm sure there will be more. Like the PS5 Pro is going to be a lot more tantalizing, I think, going forward, because we'll actually have examples of things that will actually like genuinely use some of this stuff, because they would have been developed with it at least partially in mind. But I haven't looked into this. I don't know anything about Assassin's. I actually saw like all the reviews for Shadows went up today, and I'm excited to get a bucket of popcorn and read through some of these.
The game is apparently, I saw on Twitter that it's already got 1 million players.
Yeah.
So that's pretty good, but I'm also pumping the brakes because I feel like Dragon Age had similar numbers. And it's like the earliest adopters and the true believers have gone. Now you got to see like how the burn goes. But I've said, I've been on the record, I think Shadows is actually scoring worse than I thought it was going to score. But I think it's going to do well.
Yeah.
Might not be enough commercially to do very much for Ubisoft, but it's certainly going to save that, those studios and that brand and fight to live another day. Anything else we want to say about this topic before we close the show? All right, well, let's get the hell out of here then. It's time to go. Nice brief episode this week. It's a little slow. Comparable to some other times. And there's not much to talk about in terms of what we're playing, which I think is making the shows a little bit shorter as we await some stuff. There was an announcement that this happened when we were recording, but that The Last of Us Part 2 Remastered is getting an update to its no return mode or whatever. And I really want to check that out. Like that whole mode sounds really neat.
Oh yeah, that's right. Wasn't it like was it a roguelike or
yeah, it's like some sort of roguelike with like boss characters in it and different missions and different difficulty levels, and there's like daily challenges and shit. So I gotta download that and fuck around with that. I think that'll be fun. Okay. My friends, shall we get going then? Get the hell out of here? Let's go around the horn.
Yeah.
Say goodbye, shall we? Yes? Dustin?
Yeah, let's do it.
Goodbye to you, my friend. Be well.
Goodbye, Colin. Tonight is the Severance season finale, so you're clear.
Great. Yeah, we'll get it this
clear to get started.
Yeah, we'll get it this weekend then and start.
So, yeah, you're going to love it. Well, I don't know. Maybe this season finale could be garbage, but the season's been pretty good.
Yeah,
overall.
I'm looking forward to it. I'm sure it's great.
I'm excited. I asked my one friend to bring over, she works at a bakery, our one friend that we've been watching the show with. She's bringing over an almond tort cake, which I'm a big fan of. It's just like a cake that has almonds on the outside. Probably like more than 12 boxes of honey bunches of oats with almonds on it. Because there's just so many. It's like, man, that's where all the almonds are going.
The almonds are honey bunches of oats with almond is what you mean.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
The single almond they put in every box. Dude, thanks for that.
You know what I had for the first time in a long ass time, or like a couple days ago? I had monkey bread.
Oh, that shit rules.
What? Dude, I feel like I remember. What
that is like crack. I forgot how good monkey bread is. Like I feel like last time I had monkey bread was like, I don't even know, probably like the early 2010s or whatever. And I was just like, damn, I had a bite of that shit and I was like, yo, I want to have this every day. It's so good. But
cinnamon sugar and all that. Yeah, you can't go wrong with that.
Unreal. But yeah, there is the Severance season finale. And then I got to get ready. I got to figure out what this Vegas trip is going to be. Debauchery. I'm tired just thinking about it, but I'm excited. But like, it's that like kind of like, yeah, I'm excited to have like a thing to do, but I'm also like tired in advance so that I'm not tired then. Because for some reason in my mind that works. I'll just be exhausted now so that when we're there, I'm not exhausted.
Yeah, that sounds about right.
Perfect. Yeah, it sounds right. There's science to back that up.
Well, good for you. Have fun. Be safe.
Yeah, it'll be a fun time.
All right. Well, I'm gonna go. Yeah, the Islanders play a really important game tonight, so I'm against the Canadiens, so I'm gonna be looking forward to that and playing more games. I'm kind of gonna maybe start The Last of Us Part 2 Remastered. Just fuck around with that new mode. Yeah. It's not a new mode. It's an update to the mode that was new in
right.
That, to be clear. And that's about it. Just kind of hang out. I feel like I just have a lot more free time because of no football. It's just like I just have like nothing to do. You know, I'm just kind of hanging out. Me hanging around
with my thick dog.
Thick dog. The typo should have been a thick log, which would have even been funnier.
Oh man.
All right. Well, my boys, thank you for your time. Appreciate you. Be well. Thank you all out there for your love, kindness, and support of Last Stand Media Sacred Symbols. Patreon.com/LastStandMedia for early ad-free access and all the rest. LastStandMedia.store for merch. We'll see you next time for more. Until then, be well. Goodbye.
See ya.
Take care, guys.
Sacred Symbols, a PlayStation podcast, is a product and trademark of Last Stand Media and Colin's Last Stand LLC, and is proudly recorded in the USA. The show is conceived by, is written by, and is directed by me, Colin Moriarty. My co-hosts are Chris Raygun Maldonado and Dustin Furman. The show is produced by executive producer Dustin Furman. All of Last Stand's theme music is by my best friend, Ramon Narvaez. As you know, all of Last Stand's shows, including Sacred Symbols, are fan-funded on Patreon at patreon.com/laststandmedia. The following names are at the producer level on Patreon, our highest tier, and we're grateful for your thoughtful and kind contributions to our independent endeavor. Thank you.